Good morning, my beloved friend. As the first light touches the edges of the horizon, the world exhales its nighttime hush. The air is cool, gentle, carrying the quiet promise of a new beginning. There is something sacred about this hour before the noise awakens the time, when the heart is still tender enough to listen, when heaven feels closer than the sky itself. You might be sitting alone now, coffee warming your hands, the sun just beginning to break through your window. This is not an ordinary morning. It is a meeting place between your weary soul and the one who has kept watch through the night. Some mornings, though, the dawn feels heavy instead of holy. Maybe today you woke up with a storm still echoing inside you. You tried to smile yesterday, but could not quite hold it. The news came like a blow you did not see coming, a loss, a betrayal, a door that refused to open. Or perhaps it is not one big event, but the slow H of many small disappointments, stacked high until breathing itself feels like effort. I once met someone who described it like standing at the edge of the ocean at night, waves of fear coming again and again, never letting her rest. She said the hardest part was not the pain, it was the silence, the sense that no one, not even God, was listening. If you have ever felt that silence, this morning is for you, because silence does not mean absence, and the breaking of dawn is proof that darkness never wins forever. Each sunrise is heaven's whisper that yesterday's sorrow does not define today's grace. You are still here. Your pulse still beats beneath his hand. The same breath that formed galaxies fills your lungs right now, before you rush into plans, before the world demands your attention. Take this moment to be still. Let the quiet morning become your sanctuary. Prayer is not a performance. It is a conversation between love and longing. It does not need polished words or perfect faith. Sometimes it begins with nothing more than a sigh or a tear that refuses to fall. But every whisper matters. Every breath offered in sincerity becomes a bridge between your pain and God's presence. Faith is not the absence of struggle, it is the decision to keep reaching even when your hands shake. And prayer, dear friend, is the sound of that reaching. So as you listen now, allow your heart to soften. Let go of the need to understand everything. Let the weight you have been carrying rest for a while. You do not have to fix your life before coming to God. You come to Him so that healing can begin. In this quiet morning light, there is room for every fear, every memory, every hope you are afraid to name. Here, the ordinary becomes holy ground. Here, you are not forgotten, not overlooked, not alone. This journey you are about to take is not one of repetition, but of renewal. It is a walk through the inner landscape of faith, through doubt, through surrender, through awakening, until peace begins to bloom where pain once lived. The words ahead are not rules but invitations. They are meant to guide you, to hold your trembling soul steady as you learn to breathe again in the presence of divine love. So, my beloved friend, breathe deeply. The dawn has come, and with it, new mercy. Set aside the noise. Open your heart and prepare to speak with the one who has been waiting for you since before the first light touched the earth. The morning belongs to him, and so do you. Dear Heavenly Father, as morning light softly enters my room, my heart feels both heavy and hopeful. The night left behind its shadows, and though my body has risen, my soul still lingers somewhere between fatigue and faith. I do not come pretending to be strong. I come because I need you. I come because the world has felt like too much to carry alone, and my hands tremble beneath its weight. The quiet of this dawn feels like your gentle invitation to stop running and simply breathe again in your presence. I have woken to another day filled with both promises and unknowns. The clock moves forward whether I am ready or not. My thoughts scatter in every direction, chasing what was lost, fearing what may come. But here, before the noise begins, I choose to speak to you. I bring you the pieces of my heart that have forgotten how to rest. I bring the unspoken fears that press against my chest when no one is watching. I bring the disappointments I have tried to bury beneath business. You know them all already, yet you wait for me to open them in your light. Sometimes, the hardest part of faith is simply showing up. The act of kneeling, of whispering your name, feels small against the storms that rise inside, but you see beyond the tremor in my voice. You see the soul that still wants to believe. You have never asked me to be unbroken. You have only asked me to come as I am, so I come tired, uncertain, imperfect, but still yours. And in this quiet place, I begin again. You are the stillness that steadies my chaos, the calm that calls me by name when everything else demands my attention. The world tells me to hurry, but you tell me to pause. The world tells me to prove my worth, but you remind me that I already have value in your eyes. Even when I feel unseen, you notice every breath. Even when I feel unworthy, you cover me with compassion. My heart begins to slow its racing as I remember that I am safe with you. The dawn outside mirrors what I long for within a gradual rising of light. The darkness of night does not vanish in an instant. It fades, layer by layer. As light grows stronger, perhaps my faith will rise the same way. Not as a sudden blaze, but as a steady glow pushing back the cold shadows of fear. I do not need to understand how. I only need to keep turning my face toward the light. You are that light. You are the morning my soul has been waiting for. If I am honest, there are days when I wake up feeling empty. The prayers I prayed yesterday seem unanswered. The promises I believed feel distant. Yet, somehow, I am here again, drawn by something deeper than disappointment. It is hope, fragile but alive, that refuses to die even in the dark. Hope whispers that you are not finished with me. Hope reminds me that each morning is proof of your patience, that the sun still rises because you still have purpose for me. So I offer you this beginning, the first breath, the first thought, the first moment of awareness that today is a gift. I may not know how to pray the right words, but I can be honest. I can say that I am scared. I can say that I am tired of pretending everything is fine. I can say that I need your help to believe again. And you, gracious Father, meet me right there in my honesty, not with judgment but with gentle mercy. I imagine your presence like soft light through a window, touching even the corners of my heart I try to hide. You do not rush me to be strong. You let me linger in your quiet compassion until I can lift my eyes again. Slowly, peace begins to form, not because my problems have disappeared, but because I am no longer facing them alone. The air feels lighter now, as if the weight I carried has found a stronger pair of hands. Today, I want to walk differently. I do not want to carry yesterday's fear into this morning. I do not want to let worry write the story of my day. I want to begin in surrender, trusting that you already stand in the hours ahead, preparing what I cannot see. You are not only the God of beginnings, you are the God who stays. You walk beside me through every crowded hallway, every quiet room, every uncertain moment. Let this day start not with rushing, but remembering. Let me remember that you are my refuge when I feel exposed, my rest when I am restless, my confidence when I feel unsure. Let me remember that even in silence, you are speaking through peace, through breath, through the gentle rhythm of life continuing. Let my first words not be complaint, but gratitude for another chance to start over, another dawn to rediscover grace. Dear Heavenly Father, I give you this morning the thoughts that rise, the emotions that surface, the choices that await. Teach me to meet this day not with fear, but with faith as quiet as sunlight spreading across the floor. I will not rush ahead of you. I will sit here a moment longer, breathing, remembering, and letting your presence fill the empty spaces inside me until they begin to glow again with hope. Father, as the morning grows brighter and the first signs of life stir beyond my window, I remain in this stillness, not out of hesitation, but because I am learning to listen. The world is waking up, and yet my heart whispers slower than the ticking clock. There is a sacred pause between what I feel and what I choose to believe. Yesterday's shadows have not fully faded, but your light keeps pressing through, reminding me that strength does not always roar. Sometimes it arrives quietly, like breath returning to lungs that had forgotten how to expand. Lord, I can sense that you are near, even when my emotions waver. There are moments when I reach for you and my hands close around air, but I remind myself that faith is not about what I can touch, it is about what touches me from within. You have always met me there, in that invisible space between longing and trust. I know that the same power that raised the sun over the horizon also holds the power to raise my heart from the weight that tries to keep it down. God, you know how easily I grow weary. I wake up determined, and by midday, my courage begins to thin. I tell myself I am strong, but strength built on self is like sand slipping through fingers. That is why I come to you again, not to impress you with my resilience, but to admit my dependence. I have learned that real power begins in surrender. When my voice trembles, you hear it as worship. When my tears fall, you see them as prayers. Nothing I bring to you is wasted, not even weakness. As I sit here, I think of the countless people beginning their own mornings, some in joy, some in quiet despair. We are all searching for the same thing, a reason to hope again. Perhaps that is why you keep calling me back to stillness, to remember that I am not alone in this ash. Somewhere in the unseen, you are weaving strength through every fragile soul that turns toward you. And maybe this is what grace truly means, that you meet us not at our best, but in the exact moment we think we have nothing left to give. The light outside grows stronger now, spilling across the walls like a gentle reminder that the world keeps moving. I find comfort in that rhythm, the certainty that morning follows night. Even when I forget to believe, your creation preaches a quiet sermon. Trees stand tall again after storms. Rivers keep flowing even when stones try to block their path. And the sky never holds the same clouds for long. So why should my heart not rise too? You teach me resilience without words. Through the patterns of your world, Lord, teach me to draw from that same quiet endurance. Let me find the courage to begin again, even when nothing feels new. Let me carry the peace of this moment into the noise that will soon fill the day when unexpected burdens appear. Remind me that I am not meant to bear them alone. You are the steady hand beneath my trembling one. You are the calm that does not depend on circumstance. Sometimes I wonder, Father, how you can love so patiently when my faith falters again and again. I imagine you watching, not with disappointment, but with the kind of love that waits for the smallest turning of my heart. You never rush my growth. You do not demand perfection. You simply invite me deeper into stillness, into trust, into a love that does not change when I do. That is where I want to live today, not in the anxiety of trying to control everything, but in the quiet confidence that you already hold what I fear to lose. If I am honest, I long for a sign, something visible, something immediate to assure me that you are working. But then I remember that the greatest signs are often hidden within the ordinary. The soft rhythm of breath, the warmth of light on my skin, the pulse of life in my chest, these are miracles disguised as routine. Maybe that is how you remind me that the supernatural is not far away. It is folded into the very fabric of this morning. God, if I begin to forget today, remind me gently. When I start rushing through moments meant to be lived slowly, pull me back. When I grow impatient waiting for answers, teach me to find peace in the waiting. Let the sound of the wind through the trees be a lesson in surrender. Let the steady beating of my heart be a rhythm of faith. Let every interruption become a doorway back to you. And when fear tries to visit again, as it always does, help me face it not with panic, but with presence. Remind me that fear does not define me, faith does. My worth does not depend on how perfectly I perform or how calmly I endure. It depends only on the fact that you called me yours before I even knew how to call you mine. That truth is my foundation when everything else feels uncertain. The morning is now fully awake, and so am I. I do not feel completely whole, but I feel held. The air around me carries a different weight now, not heaviness, but quiet assurance. It is as though you have wrapped peace around me, like a blanket still warm from the fire. This is not the loud triumph the world celebrates. It is the soft victory of endurance, the steady heartbeat of trust growing stronger with each breath. Father, as I rise from this place, do not let the noise of the day drown out this silence that has healed me. Let this beginning echo through every hour ahead when my mind begins to race. Bring me back to this peace. When my heart begins to doubt, Remind me that you were here in the quiet morning, whispering strength into the spaces where I once felt empty. And even as the day unfolds with its unknowns, let me walk as one who knows she is guided, covered, and loved beyond measure. Lord, as the morning settles into its quiet rhythm, my heart continues to rest in the peace you have placed here. The light has deepened, soft but steady, and I sense something shifting inside me, an awakening that feels fragile yet real. I am beginning to see how you move, not in the thunder or the spectacle, but in the tender moments I often overlook. The very air feels different now, filled with quiet assurance rather than worry. I know this peace is not accidental. It is your presence, wrapping itself around the places that once felt broken. Father, I can feel you teaching me through the silence, showing me that hope is not born from circumstance, but from communion. It grows slowly, like the first shoots pushing through hard ground, unseen until one day they stand in full light. I used to think hope required everything to be fixed before it could breathe. But now I see that hope begins in the darkness. It begins when we dare to believe that something good can still grow from what seems lost. There are memories that still ache when they surface, moments I wish I could rewrite. But you remind me that even pain has purpose when placed in your hands. You do not erase my past. You redeem it. What once felt wasted now becomes the soil where new faith can take root. It is strange how loss can become the very ground where trust is born. I no longer need to understand every reason. I only need to remember that you waste nothing. God, you have a way of turning small things into sacred ones, the way sunlight filters through leaves, the steady hum of life outside my window. Even the rhythm of my own breathing, they all carry reminders of your faithfulness. You have been constant in every moment I mistook for silence. I see now that your voice is not always loud. Sometimes it is the quiet whisper that steadies me when I want to fall apart. And in that whisper, I find the courage to hope again. Lord, I realize that hope does not demand certainty. It invites surrender. It asks me to lay down the need to predict outcomes and simply believe that you are already in the unseen. My heart wants to trust, even when my mind hesitates. I do not need to see the full picture to take the next step. I only need to remember that every step toward you is never wasted. You are the path and the destination, and each moment spent in your presence becomes a victory over despair. Sometimes I imagine hope as a fragile bird resting within the hands of faith. It trembles, easily frightened by doubt or disappointment. Yet it never truly leaves. It waits for me to open my hands again, to release fear so it can breathe. And when it sings, even softly, I know it carries the sound of heaven. Its song reminds me that joy is not the absence of sorrow, but the courage to believe in goodness while walking through it. Father, when I look back, I see how you have guided me, even through confusion. The closed doors I mourned turned out to be protection. The delays I resisted became preparation. The heartbreak I thought would end me became the very lesson that strengthened me. You were there all along, not changing every storm, but changing me through them. You did not shield me from every trial, but you stood with me until I learned how to stand again. That is the kind of hope I want to hold the one that survives the fire and still believes in light. As I sit with these thoughts, the morning outside feels fuller, alive with motion. Birds move through the air as if celebrating something unseen. And I wonder if they too are simply obeying the rhythm you designed, trusting that each day brings enough. You feed them without fail. You clothe the lilies without worry, and yet you say, I am worth more than all of these. If creation does not doubt your care, then neither should I. Teach me to live with that same simplicity, to rise each day believing you will provide what is needed and no more. There are moments, Lord, when I fear the quiet will end, when the world's noise will drown out this gentle faith. But I know you are not confined to silence. You move within chaos too. You are in every heartbeat, every conversation, every interruption that pulls me away from peace. I do not have to choose between being still and being alive in the world. I can carry stillness with me, like a candle that refuses to be extinguished even when the wind blows. God, let my heart stay open today, not guarded by cynicism, but protected by truth. Let me see hope not as something distant, but as something already planted within me. When doubts try to rise, remind me of the countless times you have brought light from darkness, life from emptiness, and peace from pain. Let me trust that you are working in ways I cannot yet see, weaving my prayers into promises waiting to unfold. And when I encounter others today, those carrying hidden burdens, those who smile through unspoken grief, help me to recognize the reflection of my own journey in them. Let me be gentle in my words, patient in my responses, and generous with grace. Perhaps the hope you are awakening in me is meant to spill into the lives of others, to remind them too that dawn always comes after the longest night. The light now rests fully across the room, soft but unwavering. It touches everything equally, the old scars, the unfinished plans, the new beginnings. That is what your presence feels like. Impartial, unconditional, eternal. I breathe in slowly, letting that truth settle deep inside me. I no longer rush to define what today must be. It is enough to know that you are in it, that your hand holds mine even when I cannot feel the grip. Father, hope is rising quietly now, not as a shout, but as a steady pulse beneath my skin. It does not erase the weight I carry, but it transforms it into something bearable. I can walk forward because you walk with me. I can face what comes because your love has already gone before me. And though I do not know how the day will unfold, I know this: every step I take in faith becomes part of the miracle you are writing in silence. Father, as I linger in the gentle quiet of this morning, I feel something stirring deeper than words. The sunlight that once crept across the floor now fills the room completely, and yet its warmth feels softer than before, like an embrace rather than a blaze. It reminds me that healing often arrives this way, not in sudden bursts of triumph, but in quiet layers that mend what once was torn. My soul begins to understand that your way is not rushed. You move like the tide, steady and sure, touching every hidden wound until even the deepest ache begins to surrender. Lord, the peace you have been building within me feels different today. It is no longer fragile. It carries weight, as though roots have started to form beneath my faith. I realize that hope without healing is like light without warmth. It shines, but does not comfort. Yet you, in your patience, give both. You let my scars breathe in your presence, not to remind me of pain, but to show me how far grace has carried me. What once felt like weakness has become the very place where your strength rests. God, I think often about how you heal, how you do not erase what was broken, but transform it into something whole. I used to pray for you to take the pain away, but now I ask for something better, to find purpose within it. Teach me to see that healing is not forgetting. It is remembering with peace. It is the slow unveiling of beauty beneath the ashes, the kind that only time and tenderness can reveal. The moments I thought were endings were, in truth, beginnings shaped in silence. Father, there are still places inside me that resist this healing. Parts of my heart still flinch at old memories, as if bracing for wounds long past. Yet even there, you are patient. You do not force restoration. You invite it. You sit with me in those hidden corners, where my own forgiveness struggles to grow. You wait until I am ready to open them, and when I do, you touch them gently, turning pain into prayer. That is what amazes me most, not that you can heal me, but that you choose to heal me slowly, in a way that allows me to understand love more deeply. There is something sacred about the stillness you ask me to dwell in. The world around me chases constant motion, noise, and certainty, but you speak through calm. You meet me not in the rush, but in the quiet between heartbeats. It is there that I realize healing does not require me to strive. It asks me to rest, to stop fighting long enough to let grace do its work, to believe that even when nothing seems to change on the surface, something holy is shifting within. Lord, I used to equate silence with absence, but now I see it as your language. You are teaching me that quiet is not empty, it is full of you. Every pause carries your presence. Every breath holds your patience. When I let myself settle into that rhythm, I begin to see differently. I notice small mercies I once missed, the way a single bird's song breaks the morning air, the way light bends across the wall like a painted promise. You use these gentle things to remind me that I am being restored, piece by piece. God, I am learning that healing is not only about being whole, it is about becoming soft again. Pain can harden the heart, make it cautious, closed, and silent. But you, in your mercy, teach me softness. You show me that vulnerability is not weakness. It is the door through which your presence enters. Each time I allow myself to feel deeply, you meet me there. Each time I open the wound in honesty, you fill it with light. Slowly, fear loosens its grip, and peace begins to take its place. There are moments when I question whether this process will ever be complete, but then I realize perhaps healing is not a destination, it is a daily returning, a rhythm of letting go and being held again. Each morning I rise. You invite me to lay down yesterday's weight and begin anew. You do not expect perfection, only willingness. And in that small act of surrender, you weave wholeness into the fabric of my day. Father, I see now that every act of forgiveness, every choice to let go, is part of the healing you are building within me. It is not just about my heart. It is about how I see others. As you soften my pain, you also soften my judgments. You remind me that every person I meet carries their own invisible wounds. And when I learn to look through the eyes of compassion, instead of resentment, I understand something of your heart. Healing expands outward, it never stops at one soul. The morning outside continues to unfold. The wind has begun to move through the trees, carrying whispers of life. And I wonder if that is how your spirit works, moving quietly, unseen, yet changing everything it touches. It does not need to shout to have power. It does not need to prove itself. It simply moves, bringing renewal where there was barrenness. That is how I want my heart to move through this day. Steady, gentle, full of life, carrying traces of the healing you have begun. Lord, as this stillness begins to settle into something deeper, I realize that I am no longer afraid of what was broken. The pain that once defined me has become a story of your faithfulness. My weakness has turned into testimony. Where there used to be bitterness, there is now gratitude. Where there was fear, there is quiet courage. You have not only healed me, you have taught me to love the process itself, to trust the waiting, to see beauty even in what is unfinished. And so, I remain here for a moment longer, breathing in the peace you have built, feeling it anchor me to this day. Healing is no longer a distant dream. It is the breath I am taking right now, the light touching my skin, the calm resting in my chest. Father, I do not rush to ask for more. For this moment, it is enough to be here, to be held, to be healed in ways I may never fully understand. Father, as this quiet morning continues to unfold, I sense the gentle rhythm of your work still moving within me. The peace that you planted in the stillness of my heart now begins to grow into courage. It is not the kind of courage that shouts or demands to be seen, but the quiet bravery that knows when to release what no longer belongs. I am learning that letting go is not an act of weakness, it is an act of trust. To loosen my grip on the things I cannot control is to place them back into your hands, where they have always truly belonged. Lord, I realize that holding on often feels safer than release. Yet it is in release that freedom waits. I think of all the things I have tried to carry, old wounds, unspoken regrets, expectations that weigh heavier with time. They have become like stones in my pockets, dragging me down even as I try to rise. But here, in your presence, the weight begins to shift. I understand now that some burdens were never meant for me. They were meant to be surrendered, not solved. You have been waiting patiently for me to open my hands, to trust that what falls away will make room for something far greater. God, help me to let go of the illusion that I must hold everything together. The world has taught me to grasp, to cling, to control, but you whisper a different truth, that strength is found in release, that peace blooms in surrender. When I cling too tightly to what has passed, I cannot receive what is coming. When I fill my heart with fear, there is no space for grace. So here I am again, choosing to release the things I have been guarding, even the ones I thought defined me. Take them, Lord, the disappointments I replay, the words I wish I could take back, the faces that still haunt my memories. Take them and turn them into something I can no longer carry, but can finally learn from. Father, it is strange how fear disguises itself as protection. I tell myself I hold on because I care, but beneath that care lies worry, the constant hum of uncertainty. Yet you remind me that faith cannot flourish where fear has taken root. It must be pulled out gently, like weeds from soil, to make space for hope to grow. I see that now. Each time I release something to you, a quiet strength rises in its place. It is not instant, but it is steady. You teach me that trust is built one surrender at a time. There are days when letting go feels impossible. The heart resists, clinging to what is familiar even when it hurts. But you, patient as always, do not rush the process. You do not tear things away. You simply wait, whispering softly that freedom is waiting. I imagine your hands open, steady, kind, reaching toward mine. You do not force them open. You invite, and when I finally let go, I find that the loss I feared was only making space for peace to enter. That is the miracle of surrender. It empties the soul, only to fill it again with something better. Lord, remind me that letting go is not forgetting. It is choosing to bless what was and move forward with grace. It is trusting that endings are not punishments, but transitions. It is the quiet understanding that even when something precious is gone, you remain. I think of the seasons, how trees release their leaves, not because they have died, but because they are preparing for renewal. In that same way, teach me to release without resentment, to trust that the stripping away is part of your sacred rhythm. I used to think surrender meant giving up. Now I see it means giving over, transferring the weight from my fragile hands to yours. It means trusting your wisdom more than my understanding, your timing more than my impatience. It is an act of love, not loss. You are not asking me to abandon what matters, only to stop clutching it in fear, to open my palms so that you can transform what I hold into something new. Father, there are relationships I must release, not out of bitterness, but out of love. There are plans I must set down because they no longer align with the path you are shaping for me. And there are expectations of myself, of others, even of you, that I must loosen my grip on. Help me to see that letting go is not failure. It is faith in motion. It is believing that even when I do not understand, you are still leading me toward what will heal, not what will harm. When I think of your creation, I see this truth reflected everywhere. The river flows because it does not cling to its banks. The sky holds clouds loosely, allowing them to drift and change. Even the tide knows how to retreat so it can return again. You built this rhythm into everything you made, even into me. So why should I resist what you designed? Help me move with the flow of your grace instead of against it. Teach me to trust that each release is a step closer to wholeness. God, I am beginning to feel a lightness I have not known in a long time. It is not the absence of pain, but the presence of peace. The air feels cleaner inside my chest. The world outside seems to breathe with me. This, I think, is what freedom feels like, not the absence of struggle, but the awareness that I no longer have to carry it alone. You are teaching me that every ending can be sacred when it is surrendered to you. There will still be moments when I reach for what I have laid down, when the temptation to control returns like an echo. But even then, remind me gently. Let me remember this peace, this release, this sacred quiet that comes when I trust you more than my fear. Help me to live with open hands, not clinging, not clutching, but receiving, to walk into each new moment unburdened, trusting that whatever I truly need will remain in the hands that formed me. Father, in this soft morning light, I feel ready not because I have everything figured out, but because I no longer need to. What I release, you redeem. What I surrender, you sanctify. I will walk into the day lighter, freer, no longer defined by what I hold, but by what I have entrusted to you. And in this quiet surrender, I find not loss, but the deepest kind of peace. Lord, as I rise from the quietness of letting go, a new kind of strength begins to take shape within me, one that does not come from resistance, but from release. Yesterday I believed that power meant control, but now I see that real strength is gentler, deeper, and far more enduring. It lives in the heart that bows willingly, not the one that stands unbending. In surrender, I have not lost myself. I have found the truest version of who I am, someone shaped by grace rather than fear, guided by trust rather than anxiety. Father, this morning the world feels open again. The burdens I once clung to have loosened their grip, and the air seems clearer, freer, almost sacred. My soul no longer trembles beneath the weight of what might be. Instead, it breathes in rhythm with your peace. I used to think surrender was the end of effort, but I understand now it is the beginning of alignment. It is not giving up on life. It is giving life back to you, allowing your will to flow through mine. And in that flow, I find quiet courage, the kind that walks forward even when the path is hidden. God, you have taught me that surrender is not silence. It is conversation without words, a heart's confession that says, I trust you even here. When I stop demanding answers, I start hearing whispers of direction. When I stop trying to fix everything, I begin to see how you are already working. Your hand does not always move in the ways I expect, but it never fails to move. The strength I feel today does not shout victory, it hums peace, steady and soft, like the heartbeat that sustains me. Lord, I used to resist this word surrender. It sounded too much like defeat, like losing the fight. But you have redefined it in the language of love. Surrender is not falling, it is falling into you. It is choosing to believe that my safety is not in what I hold, but in who holds me. You have proven again and again that your arms are strong enough for every storm, gentle enough for every wound, and wide enough for every failure I bring. That truth, more than anything, gives me courage to rest in you completely. There was a time when I equated strength with independence. I thought maturity meant handling everything alone, never asking for help, never admitting fear. But now I see how foolish that was. True strength is not isolation, it is intimacy. It is the courage to admit my need for you, to confess that I am not limitless, and yet I am loved without limit. It is the quiet dignity of a soul that no longer performs for approval, because it knows it is already accepted. In that acceptance, I find my greatest strength. Father, I look at the world around me and realize how often it praises the opposite. People celebrate control, certainty, dominance. But you, in your infinite wisdom, celebrate humility, trust, and love. You teach me that the strongest people are not those who never fall, but those who fall into your grace again and again, never ashamed to return. You do not measure me by how steady I stand, but by how deeply I trust when everything shakes. That is the kind of strength I want to live with, the strength that breathes peace into chaos, the strength that bends without breaking. God, I see how you build strength quietly, like roots beneath the earth. No one sees them grow, yet they hold the entire tree upright through storms. In the same way, you are cultivating unseen fortitude within me. Each moment of surrender, each choice to trust rather than fear, becomes a root that deepens into your faithfulness. Others may not notice, but I can feel it that I am becoming grounded. I am no longer moved by every wind of worry, because I am anchored in something far greater than myself. Sometimes I still feel fragile, Lord, but even that fragility has become holy. It reminds me that my power is not self-made. It is borrowed from your endless strength. When I feel weak, you are near. When I stumble, you steady me. When I falter, you remind me that grace is not a reward for the flawless, it is the lifeline of the faithful. And as I accept this truth, something in me stands taller, not out of pride, but out of peace. I realize I no longer have to fight to prove I am strong. I only have to rest in the one who already is. Father, teach me to carry this kind of strength into my day. Let it shape my words, my choices, my responses. When challenges rise like waves, let me meet them not with panic, but with patience. When others bring anger or chaos, let me remain steady, not because I am indifferent, but because I am grounded in love. Let my calm become a reflection of your presence, a quiet testimony that peace is stronger than fear, that surrender is more powerful than control. There will be moments today when the temptation to grasp returns. I will want to take back what I released, to handle things my own way again. When that happens, remind me gently. Let the memory of this stillness return like a whisper. Let me remember that the hands which created galaxies are also guiding my small steps. I can trust those hands. I can trust your timing. I can trust that what I cannot see is already known by you. God, you are teaching me that surrender is not a single act, but a daily rhythm. Each morning I must choose to lay down the weight I pick up again overnight. Each sunrise is another invitation to return, to realign, to rest in the knowledge that I am not the keeper of my own destiny. You are, and you are good. That truth alone gives me strength to face whatever this day holds, knowing that no matter how uncertain the path, it will never lead beyond the reach of your love. Father, I do not ask for a day without struggle. I ask for a heart that does not lose peace within it. Let my confidence be quiet but unwavering. Let my faith be soft yet immovable. Let my surrender be the wellspring of strength that carries me through every shadow and every sunrise. Today, I will walk not by striving, but by trust. I will let surrender be my shield and faith be my anchor. And in this holy calm, I find that strength was never something I had to chase it. It has been here all along, born from the moment I decided to rest in you. Father, as this morning deepens into fullness, I feel the quiet strength of surrender settling into trust. It is a new kind of light one that does not blind with brilliance, but gently illuminates what is enough for this step. This breath, this moment. The sun outside continues to climb, and I see how its warmth spreads without asking permission. How it touches everything equally: the open fields, the worn rooftops, even the cracks in the road. I realize that is how your love moves, steady and unhurried, meeting everything as it is. You are not in a rush to change me. You are simply inviting me to trust you more deeply, to rest in the light that never fades. Lord, trust has always been the hardest thing for me to learn. I have loved easily, prayed sincerely, hoped fiercely but trusting. Truly letting go of outcomes has been the lesson that tests the deepest part of me. I want to believe without looking for signs, to walk forward without demanding proof. Yet my human heart still reaches for certainty, for something solid to hold. But here, in your stillness, I begin to understand that faith is not built on what I can see, it is built on who I am walking with. When I trust you, I am no longer lost, even if I cannot see the way ahead. God, I think of all the times I have asked you for clarity, when what I really needed was courage. I begged for maps when you offered me a compass. I wanted you to reveal the entire path. But you gave me just enough light for the next step. I see now that you were protecting me, shaping me to walk by faith and not by sight. If I had known every twist and trial before they came, I would have run from the very places that changed me most. So I thank you for the mercy of mystery, for the way you hide tomorrow to teach me how to trust today. Father, there is something peaceful about not needing to know everything. It is as if my soul can finally breathe again. I do not have to predict every outcome or control every detail. I can simply show up, heart open, and trust that you are already in every place my feet will go. You are not a distant God who observes from afar. You walk beside me, matching my pace, patient with my questions. And when I hesitate, you do not push me forward. You whisper, I am here, and that is enough. Trust, I am learning, is not a feeling, it is a choice. It is the steady decision to lean on your character, even when my circumstances tremble. It is the daily turning away from fear, the quiet declaration that I will believe you are working, even when I cannot see how. You have never failed me, not once, though I have misunderstood your timing countless times. Even in the moments that felt like silence, you were speaking through peace. Even in the waiting, you were weaving grace into the unseen corners of my life. Lord, I see trust reflected in the simplest things around me. The morning birds do not question whether there will be food. They just sing. The ocean does not argue with the shore. It moves with its appointed rhythm. The stars do not fight the coming of dawn. They know their time will come again. Everything in creation rests in its trust of you, and I, too, want to live with that kind of peace, a heart so rooted in confidence that I no longer fight the unknown. Let me be like the sky, open and wide enough to hold both sunlight and storm, trusting that both belong to the same Creator, God. There are still moments when fear tries to whisper louder than faith. It tells me that trust is risky, that disappointment is inevitable. But you remind me that disappointment comes not from trusting too much, but from trusting too little. When I rely on myself, I live in exhaustion. When I rely on you, I live in peace. It is not that trusting you makes life easy. It simply makes it possible to walk through anything without being undone. The storms may come, but they cannot drown what is anchored in love. Father, I think about how often you have proven faithful, even when I doubted. There were seasons I thought you had forgotten me, yet looking back, I see how you were guiding me in silence. You were closing doors that would have led me astray, waiting for me to grow into the prayers I once rushed to receive. You knew what I needed long before I asked. And now, as I stand in the quiet glow of this morning, I realize that trust is not blinded, is rooted in remembrance. When I remember your goodness, trust becomes natural. When I recall your mercy, my fears lose their power. Lord, teach me to live this way, to see every breath as prove your care, every sunrise as a promise renewed. Let trust become not something I strive for, but something I dwell in. I want to wake each morning and choose to believe again, even when nothing around me changes. I want my faith to be stubborn, my peace to be unshakable, my heart to stay soft in a hard world. I want to look at the uncertainty ahead and still whisper, "You are enough." Sometimes, God, I think you allow uncertainty so that trust has a place to grow. If life were always clear, I would never need faith. If I were never afraid, I would never learn courage. If everything were easy, I would never understand grace. So even when I feel unsteady, I will keep walking, not because I am strong, but because you are steady. Trust does not remove fear, it quiets it. It reminds me that every shadow I walk through is already lit by your presence. Father, as this morning turns toward day, let trust become my posture. Let it shape the way I speak, the way I love, the way I respond to whatever comes. Let me meet the unknown with open hands instead of clenched fists. Let me listen more than I worry. Let me believe that your timing is not a delay, but a design. Let me trust not just in the outcome, but in the process itself, because you are in both. And as I prepare to step into the hours ahead, I carry this quiet assurance with me that trust is not about knowing where I am going, but knowing who walks beside me. You are not a distant promise. You are a present help, and that is all I need. The morning may fade into noise and movement, but within me, the stillness of trust will remain, like a soft light that cannot be extinguished. Father, as the morning stretches further into light, my heart begins to rest in a peace I could not find before. It is not the kind of peace that arrives as because everything is perfect. It is the quiet calm that comes when I finally stop fighting what I do not understand. The world outside hums with movement now, footsteps on sidewalks, voices carried by the wind, life unfolding in its ordinary rhythm. Yet here, within this still moment, I feel something extraordinary. The steadiness that trust has built within me. It is as though the walls of my heart have been strengthened by faith, not through force, but through softness. Lord, you have taught me that peace is not the absence of struggle, it is the presence of assurance. It is knowing that even when the waves rise, the shore remains. I used to search for peace in solutions, in control, in the fulfillment of my own plans. But now I see that true peace is not found in what I achieve. It is discovered in who I believe you are. I no longer need to chase calmness. It finds me when I choose to rest in you. Each breath I take feels like a prayer without words, a gentle rhythm of surrender and trust entwined. God, I can sense that this peace has layers. On the surface, it feels like quiet gratitude for the day before me. Beneath that, there is something deeper, a sacred stillness that tells me I am seen, known, and safe. It is a peace that holds even the uncertain, a peace that stays when fear tries to return. I cannot explain it fully, but I know it is real, 'cause it steadies me in ways logic never could. It wraps around my thoughts like soft light, pushing away the shadows that once whispered of doubt. Father, I used to imagine peace as something delicate, fragile, easily broken by the world's noise. But the peace you give is unshakable, forged not from ease but from endurance. It is a peace that has weathered storms, survived disappointment, and learned to breathe through loss. It does not depend on my circumstances. It depends on your constancy. Even when I falter, it does not vanish. It waits patiently for me to return. I realize now that your peace is not something I must earn. It is something I must accept. The more I rest in this peace, the more I notice how the world keeps trying to pull me out of it. The rush of responsibilities, the noise of opinions, the subtle temptation to measure my worth by what I accomplish, all of it tries to steal what you have given freely. But peace is not stolen when it is guarded by trust. I hold it close now, not with clenched fists, but with open hands. A knowing that whatever is rooted in you cannot be lost. You remind me that serenity is not found by escaping the world, but by learning to walk through it with you. Lord, I can feel how this peace changes the way I see others. Where I once reacted with judgment, I now respond with compassion. Where I once rushed to speak, I now listen. It is as if peace has made space inside me for kindness to grow. I begin to notice the small things that used to pass me by, the sound of laughter, the quiet strength in another's smile, the beauty of forgiveness spoken softly. These are your reflections in the world, signs that peace multiplies when it is shared. There are moments when I still feel the tremor of worry rising, when the memory of old fears tries to stir again. But even then, your peace whispers louder than panic. It tells me I am not alone. It reminds me that my soul has been trained to return to stillness, no matter how far it wanders. I do not have to fight my way back to calm. I only have to remember that calm never left. You are the still point in the center of every storm, and I am learning to dwell there more each day. God, this peace you give feels alive. It breathes within me like quiet fire, warm, steady, transforming. It heals not by erasing pain, but by holding it in love until it softens. It speaks not in commands, but in whispers of reassurance. It does not promise that life will be easy, but it promises that I will never face it alone. That truth alone is enough to steady me for whatever lies ahead. Peace has become the melody that underlies my steps, the unseen music that turns ordinary moments into sacred ones. Father, I find myself wanting to carry this peace beyond these walls, to bring it into every interaction, every task, every uncertainty that waits outside this morning quiet. Let my words today be wrapped in gentleness. Let my presence bring calm where there is chaos. If others feel burdened, let them find rest through the kindness I extend. Let me be a vessel of the same peace that you have poured into me, not by preaching, but by living as someone who trusts that love always has the final word. Sometimes, Lord, I wonder if the world could change not through power or argument, but through peace. If hearts could learn to listen, if hands could open instead of clench, if people could see one another through eyes softened by grace perhaps, then the noise would fade into harmony. I know this peace must begin here, within me. And so, I ask that you keep teaching me to live from this center, to remain anchored when everything around me shifts. As the morning turns toward the fullness of day, I realize how far this journey has already brought me. What began as a cry in the dark has become a steady song of faith. What once was fear has become foundation. I am no longer running from silence, I am walking with it. The peace that follows trust is not fleeting. It is eternal, because it flows from you. And though I know there will be days when I forget, mornings when doubt returns, I also know that your peace will always find me again. It does not chase me, it waits, patient as dawn, certain as light. Father, I step into this day carrying that stillness within me. It moves like a quiet stream beneath everything I do, unseen yet alive, turning every breath into a prayer of gratitude. The world will grow louder as the hours unfold, but I will remember this moment. I will remember that peace is not something I visit, is where I belong, and no matter what this day brings, I will walk through it knowing that the calm within me is not my own, it is yours. Father, as I carry this peace forward, I begin to notice the beauty in stillness, the sacred pause between one heartbeat and the next, where I can feel your presence most clearly. The world continues its rush, but within me, there is a slower rhythm now, one that listens before it speaks and breathes before it reacts. The peace I found in trust is deepening into something quieter, something more enduring. It no longer depends on the silence around me. It lives within me, even when the world grows loud. I am learning that stillness is not the absence of movement, but the awareness of you in every movement. Lord, there was a time when I feared silence. I filled every quiet space with noise, afraid of what I might hear in the echo. But now, I see that silence is not empty, it is full of you. It is in the soft moments when I stop striving, that your voice becomes clearest. Not loud, not demanding, but steady and kind, reminding me that I do not have to earn your love by doing more. Stillness is where I remember that I am already enough. Not because of what I have accomplished, but because I belong to you, God. The stillness you give is unlike any calm the world can offer. It is not fragile or fleeting. It does not disappear when life becomes hard. It holds steady, even in the chaos. It is the quiet beneath the storm, the breath beneath the noise. It is where I meet you, not in the spectacular, but in the simple, in the warmth of morning light on my skin, in the rhythm of my own heartbeat, in the unspoken gratitude rising from my chest. You are there, constant and patient, inviting me to slow down enough to notice. Father, I am realizing how much strength is hidden in stillness. It takes courage to be still in a world that glorifies motion. It takes faith to wait when everyone else is rushing. It takes trust to rest when there are still 1,000 unanswered questions. But in this stillness, I discover something holy. I am not waiting for you. I am waiting with you. You are not distant or delayed. You are already here, breathing peace into my impatience, turning my waiting into worship. Sometimes, Lord, I feel you most in the in-between, the space after a prayer, but before an answer. The moment after loss, but before healing begins. It is in those quiet places that I realize how deeply you know me. You do not fill the silence too quickly. You let me sit in it until I can see its purpose. Stillness teaches me that not every void is a lack. Sometimes it is a womb for something new. Out of the quiet, new hope is born. Out of the pause, new strength rises. God, there is a clarity that only stillness can bring. When I am no longer racing ahead, I begin to see what truly matters. I see that joy is often hidden in small, ordinary moments. The kindness of a stranger, the light in someone's eyes, the way morning air feels on my face. I used to overlook these things, chasing after grand answers, but now I understand that your presence lives inside the ordinary. Stillness is the lens that helps me recognize you there. Father, teach me to protect this stillness, to guard it like a flame in the wind. There will always be distractions, voices pulling me toward worry, tasks demanding my attention, fears trying to reclaim their ground. But I do not need to fight them. I only need to return to stillness, where you remind me who I am. Each time I pause, I come home to you again. Each time I breathe deeply and remember your nearness, the noise loses its grip. Lord, there are mornings when stillness feels impossible, when my thoughts race ahead, when my heart stirs with unrest. Yet even then, you are patient. You do not scold my restlessness. You meet me within it. You remind me that stillness is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is not a skill to master, but a relationship to deepen. Even when I fail to quiet my mind, you remain unshaken. Your peace does not depend on my performance. It waits for me, steady as dawn. Sometimes I imagine the stillness of the early world, before noise, before worry, when creation itself simply existed in awe of you. The rivers moved, the trees swayed, the stars burned in silence, and none of them questioned their purpose. That is the kind of stillness I long for. Not an escape from the world, but a deeper harmony with it. Let me live like that. Father, awake to your rhythm, moving in sync with grace instead of fear. God, in this stillness I also find healing. It seeps into the cracks of my exhaustion, softening the hard edges of my soul. It teaches me to forgive without needing apologies, to love without expecting reward. It teaches me that peace is not something I carry. It is something that carries me. Even in moments of sorrow, when tears come without words, stillness becomes my refuge. It tells me I do not have to fix everything to be whole. I only have to rest in you. Father, as I sit with this quiet, I feel a deep gratitude rising within me. I am thankful for the noise that once overwhelmed me, because it helped me recognize the beauty of silence. I am thankful for the waiting that stretched me, because it prepared my heart for trust. I am thankful even for the storms that once shook me, because they taught me how strong your peace really is. Everything, even what once hurt, has become part of the stillness that now sustains me. The morning sun has climbed higher, the world fully awake, and yet my spirit stays grounded in this calm. The day ahead may hold challenges, unexpected turns, or moments that test this peace, but stillness has taught me that I do not face any of it alone. I carry your presence within me, steady and sure. Wherever I go, this calm goes too. Not because I control it, but because you are its source. Lord, let every step I take today begin from this stillness. Let my words flow from peace, not pressure. Let my actions be guided by gentleness, not haste. And when I feel the pull of the world again, when the noise grows too loud, remind me to return to the breath, to the silence, to you. For it is in stillness that I find not only peace but also purpose, and is in your presence that both are made one. Father, as stillness settles deeper into my being, gratitude begins to bloom like sunlight breaking through the clouds. It rises quietly, not as an emotion that depends on circumstance, but as a posture of the soul. It feels like a soft unfolding, a steady warmth that spreads through everything I see. Every small detail, the light on the wall, the hum of the morning air, the rhythm of my own breathing becomes a reason to give thanks. Gratitude, I realize, is not about having everything I want, but seeing the beauty in what I already hold. Lord, I once thought gratitude was something to practice after the blessings appeared, a way to acknowledge your goodness once it was visible. But now I see it differently. Gratitude is the lens through which I discover those blessings. It is the quiet awareness that you are present in all things, even the ones that seem ordinary or difficult. When I choose gratitude, I do not deny pain, I redefine it. I learn to look at hardship not as punishment, but as preparation, not as an ending, but as a beginning that I cannot yet understand. God, thank you for the moments I used to overlook, for the simple gift of waking up again today, for the strength in my body that carries me, for the mind that can reflect and the heart that can feel. Thank you for the people who cross my path, those who bring joy, and those who test my patience, for each teaches me something about love. Thank you for the laughter that lightens my days, and even for the tears that soften my spirit. Nothing is wasted in your design. Even what I once wished away has been shaping me for grace. Father, gratitude changes the way I see the world. It slows me down enough to notice the small miracles I used to rush past. The way morning light dances across the window. The way a stranger's smile can lift a weary heart. The way hope quietly returns even after disappointment. These are your whispers, constant and faithful. Gratitude tunes my heart to hear them again. It transforms the ordinary into sacred space and turns every breath into worship. There were days, Lord, when I could not find a single reason to give thanks, when loss shadowed everything and silence felt heavy. Yet even then, gratitude waited like a seed buried deep, patient for its time to grow. You were teaching me that thankfulness is not about pretending everything is fine, is about trusting that even in pain, something beautiful is still being written. The soil of sorrow, when watered with faith, grows compassion. The H of longing becomes room for grace. God, I have learned that gratitude and peace walk hand in hand. Where there is thanksgiving, fear loses its hold. Where there is appreciation, envy cannot grow. Where there is remembrance of your goodness, despair finds no place to root. Gratitude becomes a quiet rebellion against the world's noise, a declaration that even in uncertainty, I choose to see light. It is not denial. It is defiance born of faith. When I give thanks, I refuse to let darkness define my story. Father, thank you for teaching me that gratitude is not only felt in joy but also forged in endurance. It is not the language of perfection, but of perseverance. Even when I am weary, even when I do not understand, I can still whisper thank you, not because I like the moment, but because I trust your purpose within it. That kind of gratitude becomes an anchor, keeping my heart steady when the waves rise again. It reminds me that your grace has carried me this far, and it will not stop now. Lord, I see now how gratitude shifts the weight of my prayers. I used to come to you asking for more answers, more clarity, more relief. But gratitude teaches me to begin with enough, to start every day not by asking, but by acknowledging. I have air to breathe, light to see, people to love, and a purpose to walk in. The rest will unfold in its time. Gratitude frees me from the illusion of lack and reminds me that contentment is not something I chase it is something I choose. There is a gentle humility in gratitude too. It reminds me that everything good is a gift, not a guarantee. It softens pride and opens my hands. It teaches me to hold blessings lightly, and knowing they are not mine to possess, but to steward. Gratitude transforms ownership into offering. It reminds me that giving thanks is not the end of generosity, is the beginning of it. When I recognize how much I have been given, I naturally want to give more, to love more deeply, to serve more freely, to live more fully. God, thank you for the unseen gifts, the delays that protected me, the closed doors that redirected me, the prayers you answered differently than I expected. Thank you for the lessons wrapped in waiting, for the grace that met me in disappointment, for the quiet strength that only came through surrender. Gratitude helps me see that blessings are not always wrapped in joy. Sometimes they are hidden in the very moments that broke me open enough to receive you. Father, this gratitude changes not only my view of life, but also my pace. It teaches me to live slower, to linger a little longer in moments that matter. It reminds me that each morning is not just another day. To get through it is another invitation to notice. I do not need grand miracles to prove your love. I see it in the way sunlight filters through the trees, in the laughter of a friend, in the quiet forgiveness that restores peace. Gratitude sharpens my eyes to see you everywhere. And now, Lord, as I prepare to step into the rest of this day, I want gratitude to guide me like a compass. Let it shape the words I speak, the choices I make, the way I see others when anxiety whispers. Let thankfulness answer first when frustration rises. Let remembrance of your faithfulness calm me. Let every challenge become an opportunity to recognize how near you are. Let gratitude not be an act I perform, but a state I live in, a steady undercurrent of peace flowing through all things. God, I can sense that this is how you designed life to be. A continuous rhythm of receiving and giving thanks, breathing in grace and breathing out praise. Gratitude is not the conclusion of prayer, it is the heartbeat of it. It keeps me aware that every moment, every breath, every person, every sunrise is a reminder that I am living inside your mercy. And as this morning continues, I want to stay in that awareness, not as a fleeting thought, but as a way of being. Father, may this gratitude remain with me long after the morning fades. May it echo in my steps, soften my voice, and fill every corner of my heart. The day ahead may not go as planned, but I know this: when I walk in thankfulness, I walk in freedom. Gratitude does not erase the unknown. It transforms how I move through it. It reminds me that whatever happens, I am surrounded by grace too vast to comprehend. And that realization, more than anything, is enough for this day. Father, gratitude has opened my eyes, and from that awareness grows a new kind of courage, the courage to surrender. It feels almost contradictory at first, as if giving up control should make me weaker. Yet the more I release, the more strength I find. What I once held with tense hands, afraid to lose, now feels lighter as I offer it back to you. Every plan, every fear, every outcome I cannot shape, they are safer in your care than in my grasp. Surrender is no longer a defeat. It is a quiet victory of trust over pride. Lord, I used to think surrender meant resignation, as though I was supposed to stop caring or stop hoping. But now I understand that surrender is not apathy, is alignment. It is the moment when my will bends toward yours, when my striving softens into stillness, and my resistance turns into release. It is a sacred yielding, a deep exhale that makes room for grace. In surrender, I do not lose myself. I find myself where I was always meant to be anchored, in you, God. There are still parts of me that resist letting go, the instinct to plan, to fix, to predict, to control. It lingers like a shadow. Yet even in that struggle, I feel you teaching me patience. You do not demand instant perfection. You invite continual trust. You remind me that surrender is not a single act, but a rhythm, like breathing exhale what I cannot carry. Inhale what you freely give. It is a dance between human limitation and divine strength, and with each breath of release, I feel more whole. Father, it is here, in this act of surrender, that I begin to understand freedom, not the kind the world advertises the freedom to have, to achieve, to decide, but the freedom from needing to control what I cannot. When I surrender to you, I am released from the tyranny of fear. I stop trying to be my own protector and start resting in the safety of your love. Even uncertainty no longer feels like a threat, becomes an invitation to trust. Lord, surrender has also changed how I pray. I no longer ask for everything to go my way. I ask for the wisdom to see your way. I no longer beg for ease. I ask for endurance. I no longer demand clarity. I ask for faith when things remain unclear. This shift is quiet, but powerful. It turns prayer from pleading into partnership. I am not handing you a list of desires. I am opening my heart to your direction, and the peace that follows this posture is unlike anything I have ever known. God, I surrender not only the future, but also the past, the regrets that cling, the moments I wish I could rewrite. They no longer have to define me. You remind me that surrender is also forgiveness, releasing myself and others from the weight of what cannot be changed. Every wound becomes an offering, every scar a reminder of what you have healed. I no longer hide my pain from you. I hand it to you, knowing you can turn even ashes into something sacred. Father, I also surrender the image of who I thought I should be, the polished version, the one who never doubts, never fails, never falters. That illusion has kept me from your truth. You never asked me to be flawless. You asked me to be faithful. Surrender strips away the masks and leaves only what is real. It is uncomfortable sometimes, standing bare before grace, but it is also freeing. I realize that you love not the version of me I pretend to be, but the person I truly am beneath all the striving. Lord, surrender has taught me how to love differently. When I release the need to control others, I finally learn to love them freely. I no longer measure people by how well they meet my expectations. I can let them be who they are, imperfect, changing, human, and still choose compassion. Surrender softens judgment into mercy. It teaches me that love is not about possession. It is about presence. It is the act of staying even when things are uncertain, trusting that grace can bridge the gaps we cannot. God, I can feel surrender transforming the way I face fear. The unknown no longer paralyzes me, because I have learned where my strength comes from. I may not know what tomorrow brings, but I know who holds tomorrow, and that knowledge quiets the storm inside. It does not erase every worry, but it keeps those worries from ruling me. Surrender is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to let fear decide my steps. I walk forward, not because I see the whole path, but because I trust the one who leads it. Father, sometimes surrender means waiting longer than I want to. It means sitting in the tension between promise and fulfillment, between prayer and answer. It means trusting that silence is not abandonment but preparation. And though it tests my patience, it also strengthens it. For every delay that once frustrated me now deepens my faith. I learn that timing is not my enemy. It is your mercy disguised as distance. You are never late, You are always intentional. Lord, there are moments when surrender feels like standing at the edge of a cliff, my heart uncertain, my mind questioning, and yet my spirit whispering yes. That yes is where faith begins. It is where miracles unfold, not always the kind that change the world around me, but the kind that change the world within me. The miracle of peace in chaos, the miracle of joy in hardship, the miracle of trust when logic says otherwise. Each act of surrender becomes a seed, and from it, new life grows. God, I think of how surrender reshapes my mornings. Each dawn becomes a reminder that I am not starting over alone. I wake not to carry the weight of yesterday, but to walk with you anew. Surrender resets the soul, it clears the clutter of worry, and makes room for wonder. It allows gratitude to rise, stillness to return, and peace to remain. It teaches me that letting go is not losing it, it is making space for something better to come. Father, as I step into the unfolding hours of this day, let surrender be my strength. Let it steady me when impatience stirs, humble me when pride creeps in, and comfort me when uncertainty looms. Let it be the silent rhythm beneath all my actions, the steady heartbeat of trust that keeps me aligned with your will. And when the day ends, when the noise quiets and the light fades, may I look back and see how surrender shaped every moment, not with regret, but with quiet awe at how much peace can grow from letting go. For in surrender, I do not lose control of life, I gain the freedom to live it as it was meant to be, in the gentle, unwavering hands of love. Father, surrender has unburdened me, and in its quiet aftermath, I find myself fully here in this moment, in this breath, in the gentle unfolding of now. There is no longer pressure to rewrite yesterday or rush into tomorrow. The present has become a sanctuary, a space where I finally feel safe enough to be. Without striving, you are here, not waiting on the other side of achievement or healing, but within this very second, offering me a taste of eternity in time as smallest measure. Lord, I used to live ahead of myself, always thinking about what came next. I chased the future like a prize, convinced that peace lived somewhere in my next breakthrough, my next answer, my next step forward. But now I see that I missed so much beauty along the way. I rushed past quiet joys, overlooked quiet lessons, drowned out your whisper with the noise of my own plans. Today, I choose differently. I choose to be present with you, with myself, with everything unfolding around me. God, the present is fragile and fleeting, yet it holds more power than I imagined. It is the only place where life actually happens. The past is memory. The future is hope. But now is where you meet me. Every breath is sacred because it holds the miracle of your presence. I begin to see the divine woven into the fabric of ordinary things. The softness of morning air, the way light pours gently through the curtains, the calm in my chest that was not there yesterday. These moments are not fillers between more important events, they are the event. Father, teach me to honor this moment, not as something to get through, but as something to behold. Help me to resist the urge to multitask my way through life. Let me give my full attention to the person in front of me, to the words I speak, to the thoughts I think, to the feelings that rise and fall. Let me move through this day slowly enough to notice the texture of now. Help me to greet each experience, not with judgment or resistance, but with awareness and gratitude. There is holiness in presence, Lord. Not performance, not perfection, just presence. Showing up fully with whatever I am carrying. Not shrinking back in shame, not rushing forward in anxiety, just standing here with open hands and a quiet heart, trusting that you are in this moment, whether I feel it or not. This kind of living requires faith, the kind that does not need constant change to feel progress, the kind that sees stillness as sacred movement. God, I know how often I drift. My mind replays old wounds or races toward imagined problems. Even when nothing is wrong, I can invent worry just to fill the silence. But here, in this calm space, you show me a different way. You invite me to return not to a location, but to attention. You invite me to live this hour as if it were the only one that matters. And when I do, I feel you more clearly than ever. You are not hiding in some far-off outcome. You are in the quiet sip of water, the gentle rhythm of footsteps, the pause between sentences. Father, there is peace in being where my feet are. I do not have to live ahead of time. I do not have to solve problems that have not yet appeared. I do not have to brace myself for what may come. I only have to live this moment with honesty, humility, and hope. When I do that, the weight I did not even know I was carrying begins to lift. The pressure to perform fades, and I remember that life is not a test to pass, it is a gift to experience. Lord, let this awareness shape the way I move through the day. Let it turn routine into reverence. Let it remind me that time is not just something to manage, it is something to marvel at. Let me wake up to the joy of small things. The way someone's eyes light up when they laugh, the comfort of familiar smells, the quiet that lingers just before the world begins to buzz. These are the treasures buried in plain sight. Let me not miss them. Sometimes I think the enemy of joy is not sorrow, but distraction. Not hardship, but hurry. When I live disconnected from the present, I become a ghost in my own life, going through motions without meaning, saying words without weight. But when I choose to be here, truly here, something changes. My soul returns to my body. My heart catches up to my voice. My life becomes something I am not just witnessing, but inhabiting. God, help me extend this gift of presence to others. Let me truly see the people around me. Let me listen without thinking of my response. Let me sit without fidgeting toward the next task. Let me offer my time without measuring its productivity. Presence is the most generous thing I can give, because it costs me my attention. And when I give it, I reflect the way you are with me, fully available, fully engaged, never distracted. Father, thank you for slowing me down enough to remember what matters. Thank you for reminding me that life is not something control, but something I participate in. Every moment is an invitation to draw nearer, not by climbing ladders of achievement, but by sinking deeper into reality. And even when that reality is hard, Even when the moment holds pain or confusion, you are still in it, redeeming it, using it to shape me from the inside out. I know this awareness will be tested. The hours ahead will pull at me. Noise will return. Expectations will rise. I will feel tempted to chase after more, to measure my worth by what I accomplish. But before that happens, I ask for one thing. Remind me to return. Remind me that now is enough. Remind me that here is holy. Remind me that this moment, just as it is, contains the fullness of your love and the promise of your grace. So I remain here a little longer in the still, sacred present, not rushing, not analyzing, not striving, just being, breathing, aware, alive, with you, in you, and because of you. This moment is more than enough. Lord, as I remain in this present moment, held by stillness and softened by surrender, I realize how gently you prepare me for what is next. The calm has given me clarity, and gratitude has opened my heart. And now, from that place of awareness, you offer me something even deeper: grace. Not as a reward for having done everything right, but as a fresh invitation to begin again. Even if I have stumbled, especially when I have stumbled, grace meets me where strength ends and ushers me into a new beginning without shame. Only mercy. Father, you know how often I need this grace, not just once, not only in crisis, but daily in thoughts that wander, in patience that wears thin, in faith that flickers in and out. I used to think starting over was a sign of weakness, like failure dressed in humility. But I see now it takes strength to admit I need a new beginning. It takes courage to let go of yesterday's mistakes and believe in the kindness of a God who rewrites stories, not by erasing them, but by redeeming them. God, thank you for your grace that flows without limit. Thank you that I do not have to earn a reset. I only have to return. I come back now, not as someone who has mastered life, but as someone learning to live more fully within it. Your grace is not a soft cushion to ignore responsibility. It is the oxygen that allows growth to continue. It reminds me that transformation is never linear, that healing rarely happens in straight lines, and that becoming is a holy, messy, beautiful journey. Father, beginning again does not mean forgetting everything behind. It means letting it go without carrying its weight into what is ahead. The regrets, the words I wish I could take back, the decisions I would choose differently, they do not have to define my path. They are part of my shaping, not my identity. With grace, I can walk forward with memory, but without the chains of guilt. You do not use my past against me. You use it to build compassion, to deepen empathy, to humble pride. Lord, I know that some days I will forget. I will fall back into old habits, old fears, old rhythms of self-reliance. But your grace does not grow tired. You do not give up when I forget. You do not retreat when I repeat the things I said I would release. Instead, you whisper again, come back. Begin here, and so I do, again and again. The beauty of grace is not just in its arrival, it is in its constancy. It is the reminder that no matter how many times I veer off course, I can always turn around. God, this kind of grace changes everything. It quiets the critic in my head that says, I should be further along. It silences the shame that says, I have missed my chance. It softens the edges of perfectionism and teaches me to embrace progress, not performance. Grace is not just something I receive, it is something that changes how I see myself. I no longer view my worth through the lens of success, but through the truth that I am loved even in the unfinished places. Father, let that grace not stop with me. As you pour it into me, let it overflow into how I treat others. Help me to offer the same gentleness to those who falter, to give space for others to start again without judgment. When I see someone stumble, let my first instinct be empathy, not comparison. Grace multiplies when it is shared. It breaks the cycle of criticism and sows something softer in its place, hope. Sometimes the hardest person to extend grace to is myself. I replay my failures more often than I celebrate my growth. I downplay my progress and magnify my missteps. But you see the whole picture. You are not surprised by my stumbles. You are not impatient with my pace. So why should I be? Teach me to speak to myself the way you do, with truth, yes, but also with tenderness. Teach me to see progress as sacred, even if it is small, even if it is slow. God, beginning again also means stepping back into purpose, not with frantic ambition, but with peaceful intention. Your grace does not just restore me, it reawakens my calling. It stirs the dreams I buried beneath disappointment. It breathes courage into the corners of my heart that stopped believing things could change. And now, slowly, I feel that courage returning, not as a shout, but as a steady whisper that says, try again. Hope again. Love again. Father, I feel you reminding me that starting over is not about arriving at perfection, is about staying connected to you. It is not a race to the finish. It is a walk with the one who never hurries me, never leaves me behind. Each day becomes less about proving my worth and more about receiving your grace with open hands. And in that rhythm, I find rest. Let this be the posture I carry into the rest of this day, the awareness that I do not have to get everything right, but I can keep showing up. I can keep turning back when I drift. I can keep trusting when the road is unclear. I can keep beginning again, not because I am strong, but because you are steadfast. God, I am no longer afraid of beginning again. In fact, I welcome it. I welcome the mercy of fresh starts, the beauty of restored hope, the gentle strength of second chances. I step forward not with pressure, but with peace. I carry what matters and release what does not. I lift my head, not in pride, but in quiet confidence that you are with me, not just at the start or the end, but in every in-between. So here I am, beginning again, not because I failed, but because grace has made it possible to continue. And in this sacred act of return, I find everything I need: mercy for the past, courage for the present, and hope for what is still to come. Father, as I rise again in your grace, beginning anew without fear, I find myself thinking not just about where I am going, but about who I am becoming. The journey inward now feels just as important as any outward step. Starting over has shown me that becoming is not about reinvention, but about uncovering, not about striving to become someone I am not, but shedding what I was never meant to carry, so I can finally be who you have always seen in me. Lord, becoming is not fast, and it is never perfect, but it is beautiful. It unfolds slowly, like petals opening in morning light, unrushed, unworried, untouched by the pressure to bloom faster. I used to demand progress I could measure, moments I could point to and say, I have changed. But I now understand that true becoming happens quietly. It happens in the pause before I speak, in the breath I take before I respond, in the decision to stay soft in a hard moment. God, thank you for being more patient with my becoming than I have been. I often wanted breakthrough before I was ready to carry it. I wanted transformation without surrender, peace without process. But you, in your perfect love, never rushed me. You waited while I wrestled. You stayed when I got stuck. You whispered truth when I was tempted to pretend. And because of your steady presence, I am learning how to become not a version of perfection, but a reflection of grace. Father, I see now that becoming does not mean arriving. It means moving forward with intention, letting every step reflect a deeper trust in you. Some days I will rise with boldness, other days with barely enough strength to try again. But both days matter. Both are sacred, because becoming is not about the speed of the journey. It is about walking it with you. And I feel you in every step, in every falter, in every moment where I choose love instead of fear. Lord, sometimes becoming means leaving behind parts of me that were never meant to stay, old narratives that kept me small, lies I believed about my worth, patterns of thinking that served as protection but no longer bring peace. Shedding these things hurts, but it also heals. Each time I release what no longer serves who I am called to be, I create space for something truer to emerge. You are not just healing me, you are shaping me. With every soft yes to you, I am becoming more whole. God, becoming also means embracing what I once resisted, the tender parts of me, the vulnerable places, the ache that reminds me I am alive. I used to think strength meant staying guarded, but you have shown me that true strength is staying open, even after I have been wounded. Becoming means keeping my heart wide, even when I do not understand the outcome. It means walking in compassion, especially for myself. It means seeing my story as a garden, not just what is grown, but also what is still breaking through the soil. Father, let me not be ashamed of the parts of my story still in process. Let me not hide the chapters that feel unfinished. Becoming is not about the polish of my testimony. It is about the truth of my transformation. Let me live honestly, not with curated perfection, but with sincere courage. I do not want to impress. I want to impact. And the only way to do that is to be real, to show that you work in the raw, not just in the resolved. Lord, remind me that becoming is a shared journey. I am not the only one in process. Every person I meet is also navigating the spaces between what was and what could be. Let that truth make me gentler with strangers, with loved ones, with those who challenge me, and especially with those who mirror parts of myself I have not made peace with yet. Let my growth make room for others to grow. Let me become someone who inspires growth simply by choosing grace. God, becoming means embracing seasons. There are days of fire, where things fall away and nothing looks familiar. There are days of planting, full of faith and work, with no sign of harvest. And there are days of blooming, where life surprises me with joy I did not expect. All of it belongs. All of it matters. Teach me not to rush my seasons, not to resent the waiting, not to compare my pace with others. You are just as present in delay as in the delight. Father, thank you for not expecting me to become everything all at once. Thank you for delighting in each stage of my becoming. Even now, as I sit in this moment, I know I am further along than I have ever been, even if I am not where I thought I would be. That is the beauty of walking with you. I am always becoming something better, because I am becoming more like you. Let this truth shape my day. Let it remind me that success is not just in outcomes, but in obedience. Let it teach me to celebrate small victories, the kind no one else sees. Like the decision to forgive quickly, the strength to rest without guilt, the wisdom to stay silent when words would wound. Becoming shows up in these quiet choices, and you see them all. God, I want to keep becoming someone who reflects your light, not just in grand gestures, but in the smallest details, in the way I greet the morning, in the way I respond when things do not go as planned, in the way I love without needing to be loved back. Becoming is not just about who I will be someday, it is about how I choose to be today. So today, I walk with this awareness. I do not need to prove anything. I do not need to rush. I only need to remain open to you, to change, to growth that does not always feel comfortable, but always leads me home. Becoming is a gift. It is messy and sacred and beautiful, and in it, I find freedom. Because becoming, at its core, is returning again and again to the truth of who I am in you. And that is more than enough. Father, as I continue this quiet journey of becoming, I begin to feel the weight and wonder of perseverance rising within me. The beauty of transformation is not just in the beginning or the breakthrough, it is in the middle. It is in the stretch, the tension, the steady press forward when nothing seems to shift. Becoming is a gift, but persevering through it, that is grace in motion. That is where strength takes root. That is where I meet you in a deeper way, not just as a healer or restorer, but as my sustainer. Lord, perseverance is not always dramatic. Often, it is unseen. It is the quiet choice to rise when I would rather quit, the decision to speak gently when anger feels easier, the silent yes to continue showing up when I feel unseen, unheard, uncelebrated. I used to think strength was found in the loud moments, in declarations and visible victories. But now I see the truest strength is often quiet. It whispers. Keep going, even when the road offers no guarantee. God, you see the places where I feel weary. You know the dreams that have been delayed, the prayers that remain unanswered, the hopes that seem just out of reach. And yet you call me to persevere, not by striving harder, but by staying close to you, not by forcing outcomes, but by trusting your timing. Perseverance in you is not fueled by pressure, but by presence. And in your presence, I find what I need not all at once, but enough for today. Father, I confess there are moments when I feel like giving up, not in the dramatic, walking away from everything sense, but in the subtle ways that numbness tries to settle in, the ways I lower my expectations to avoid disappointment, the ways I distract myself to avoid hope. But you stir me gently, reminding me that hope is not fragile when it is rooted in you. That faith does not mean I always feel strong. It means I keep choosing to return, to remain, to endure. There is a sacred rhythm to perseverance. Lord, it is not just endurance, it is movement with intention. It is walking even when the path is unclear, trusting that each step holds purpose, even if I can yet see the fruit. It is allowing process to shape me, not rushing through pain, not skipping the slow growth, but remaining faithful in the small, unseen acts of obedience. That is where character is forged. That is where foundations are strengthened. God, help me to honor the middle seasons, the places where nothing is finished and everything feels in progress. Remind me that the middle is not a mistake. It is not a sign that I have failed. It is the very place where seeds are breaking through soil, where roots are being deepened, where endurance is being written into my soul. Let me not resent the waiting. Let me not despise the struggle. Let me see it for what it is, a sacred stretch toward who I am becoming. Father, I know perseverance does not mean pretending. I do not have to plaster on a smile or fake joy when I am feeling worn down. You invite honesty, not performance. You are not looking for perfect strength, only faithful surrender. So today, I give you my honest heart, the part that is tired, the part that is hopeful, the part that is afraid to hope. I place it all before you, knowing that you are strong enough to carry what I cannot. There is something holy about not giving up, Lord, not because I am afraid to fail, but because I have learned that your faithfulness is worth holding on for. I have seen how you have come through before, not always in the way I imagined, but always in the way I needed. That history of grace becomes the fuel for my perseverance. I do not walk forward on willpower, I walk forward on memory. Memory of your goodness, memory of your provision, memory of your unfailing love. God, help me to remember that perseverance is not just about surviving hardship, it is about becoming more like you in the process. Every time I keep going when I want to quit, I become more resilient. Every time I speak truth when lies seem louder, I become more rooted. Every time I love when it is hard, forgive when it is undeserved, show up when it is inconvenient, I reflect a little more of you. That is the beauty of perseverance. It transforms. Father, show me how to carry this strength into my relationships. Let me persevere in love, even when I feel misunderstood. Let me persevere in listening, even when I do not have the right words. Let me persevere in grace, even when others do not seem to notice. Remind me that I am not living for applause, I am living to be faithful. And you, the one who sees in secret, are never blind to my quiet offerings. There is a kind of peace that comes from perseverance, a peace that is not dependent on ease or outcome, a peace that knows I am exactly where I need to be, doing exactly what you have asked me to do, even when the finish line is far, even when the rewards are unseen. That peace anchors me. It tells me I am not forgotten. I am not behind. I am being refined in the fire, shaped for something more eternal than anything this world can measure. God, give me the vision to see beyond today's exhaustion. Help me to fix my eyes on what is unseen, on the character you are building, on the story you are writing, on the legacy of faith you are planting in me. Let perseverance become my quiet anthem, the song that plays beneath every step I take. Let it echo in my thoughts, in my prayers, in the choices I make when no one is watching. Let it be the sound of my soul declaring, I am still here. I am still trusting. I am still becoming. Father, I walk forward now not with certainty of what the day will hold, but with confidence in who holds me. I do not need every answer. I do not need everything to fall into place. I just need enough grace for the next breath, enough strength for the next step, and enough faith to keep walking. You have always given me that, and I trust you will again. So I keep going. I keep showing up. I keep believing. Not because it is easy, not because I feel brave, but because you are worthy, because you are with me, and because every step in faith is a step deeper into the life you have prepared for me, a life not built on perfection, but on perseverance, grace, and unshakable love. God, as I continue walking with perseverance, I find myself leaning more and more into a faith that does not demand to be loud. It is not the kind that shouts over doubt or insists on certainty. Instead, it is soft, steady, and deeply rooted, a quiet faith that holds me upright when everything around me shifts. It is the kind of faith that does not always have the answers, but keeps believing anyway. The kind that does not need applause, does not crave recognition, does not chase signs. It simply stays. And that staying, that choosing to believe in the unseen, becomes its own kind of strength. Father, this quiet faith does not come from effort alone. It is not something I have manufactured with discipline or built from sheer willpower. It has been formed in the waiting, in the long, silent stretches of prayer when no response seemed to come. In the early mornings when all I could say was help. In the heartbreaks that taught me you were still good even when life did not feel kind. Each of those moments shaped a deeper faith, not loud, not flashy, but lasting. Lord, thank you for not requiring a perfect faith. Thank you for accepting the whispered prayers, the uncertain trust, the questions I still carry. You never once asked me to be fearless, only to be willing. And here I am, still willing, still here, still believing, even if the belief trembles some days. I no longer see trembling as a sign of weakness. I see it as proof that my faith is alive, responding, reaching, growing. A quiet faith is not a silent one. It simply speaks in a different tone. God, I used to measure faith by emotions. If I felt strong, I thought my faith was strong. If I felt doubt, I assumed I would fail you. But now I understand that feelings are not the substance of faith. They are the weather around it. The storms may come, but the roots remain. What you have planted in me through every season of wrestling is deeper than momentary certainty. It is a confidence in your character, not just your outcomes. A belief in your presence, not just in answers. Father, there is a peace that comes with this kind of faith, a calmness that does not deny pain, but refuses to be defined by it, a stillness that rests in knowing you are who you say you are. Even when life is not what I expected, it is the kind of faith that does not need the storm to stop in order to feel safe. It just needs to know you are in the boat with me. That truth alone quiets my soul in ways no circumstance ever could. Lord, teach me to nourish this quiet faith. Let me tend to it like a garden, not rushing its growth, but trusting that each day, each prayer, each act of kindness is watering something eternal. Let me protect it from the noise, the voices that demand quick results, the pressure to always be bold and certain, the temptation to prove instead of trust. Let me remember that faith is not for display. It is for living, and the quietest faith often bears the strongest fruit. God, help me to recognize the quiet faith in others too, the ones who keep loving when it is hard, the ones who keep praying when they have seen no change, the ones who carry joy without needing the spotlight. Let me not mistake quietness for absence or humility for weakness. Let me honor the faith that shows up daily, the kind that goes unseen by the world, but is deeply known by you. Let me celebrate the slow, the steady, the unseen work of grace. Father, let this faith guide the way I love, not in grand gestures, but in gentle presence, not in dramatic declarations, but in faithful listening. Let me love with patience, with kindness, with endurance. Let me believe the best in others, even when it is hard. Let my love be rooted in the kind of faith that believes you are always working beneath the surface, beyond what I see. This is how faith becomes more than belief. It becomes a way of being. Lord, when I feel overlooked or unimportant, remind me that you see in secret. You are not measuring my faith by how loud I praise or how bold I seem. You are looking at the posture of my heart, the moments I choose trust when fear would be easier, the seconds I pause to pray when stress wants to take over, the times I choose to forgive quietly, to let go softly, to hope silently. These are the invisible acts of faith that echo in eternity. God, let quiet faith be my anchor in a world that rewards noise. Let it hold me steady when culture pushes for quick fixes and instant gratification. Let it remind me that depth matters more than speed, and that still waters often run deepest. Let it be my compass when I do not know which way to go, my light when the path ahead is dim, my foundation when everything else feels shaky. Father, help me pass this kind of faith to others not through pressure, but through presence, through being a person of peace in chaos, through being the one who listens deeply, speaks kindly, and trusts silently. Let my life be a quiet testimony that points not to my strength, but to yours, that shows the power of grace that holds when nothing else does. There are days Lord, when I wish I had more to give, more confidence, more clarity, more boldness. But you remind me that this small, steady yes is enough. The faith that says, I do not see the whole picture, but I trust the painter. The faith that says, even here, even now, I choose to believe. That kind of faith can move mountains, not because of its volume, but because of its source, God. I will keep walking in this quiet faith. I will keep waking to meet you in silence. I will keep letting peace be my response and hope be my rhythm. I will trust that the work you are doing in me is deep. Even when it is not visible, I will choose presence over performance, trust over urgency, and truth over appearance. So today, as I step into the unknown again, I carry this faith with me, not as armor to prove anything, but as a light that never goes out. It flickers at times, yes, but it never fades, because it is held by you, formed by you, sustained by you. And in that truth, I find the courage to keep going, quietly but confidently, held in the strength of unseen but unshakable belief. Father, as I continue resting in this quiet faith, I begin to notice the gentle restoration taking place within me. It is not loud or sudden. It does not demand attention or offer immediate results, but it is real. Deep beneath the surface of my awareness, you are healing the parts of me that I had buried or ignored, not with pressure, but with patience, not with judgment, but with grace. Lord, I used to think healing had to look dramatic to be meaningful. I expected the pain to vanish, the wounds to close in one miraculous moment. But you are teaching me that healing is rarely a single event. It is a process, a layering of mercy, a series of choices to forgive, to release, to trust again. And every small step forward matters. Every tear shed in honesty, every moment of stillness where I let you in, every surrender of a hidden ache, each one is part of the healing work you are doing in me. God, thank you for not rushing me. Thank you for not pushing me to move on before I am ready. You never ask me to pretend I am okay. You simply ask me to bring what is true. And the truth is, some parts of me still hurt. Some memories still sting. Some questions remain unanswered. But when I place them in your hands, I no longer carry them alone. I begin to feel the weight lift, not because the pain is gone, but because I no longer bear it by myself. Father, healing does not mean forgetting. It means remembering differently. It means looking at what broke me and no longer feeling controlled by it. It means honoring the hurt without letting it define me. It means seeing scars not as signs of weakness, but as evidence of survival, proof that grace met me in the wound and stayed long enough to see it close. This is the kind of healing I long for. Not escape, but redemption. Not denial, but transformation. Lord, sometimes healing means reopening what I had sealed too quickly. There are places in me I tried to fix on my own, places I ignored, minimized, or numbed. But grace does not rush past the pain. Grace sits with it. Grace enters the H without flinching, without turning away. You walk with me into those tender places, not to shame me, but to show me I am safe, that I am still loved, that even here, especially here, you are not afraid of what you find. God, let this be a space where nothing is hidden, where I do not feel the need to cover my wounds with performance or silence. Let your presence be the place I bring my full self, the brokenness, the beauty, the unfinished pieces. Let me be honest about the anger, the disappointment, the fear, and the longing. You can handle it all. You already know it all. And still, you draw near. Father, I have learned that healing often begins the moment I stop resisting. When I stop trying to hold everything together. When I allow myself to feel what I have buried. When I admit I need help. That humility, that opening, that is where you do your most powerful work. Not in the proud, polished spaces, but in the vulnerable, the trembling ones, the moments when I finally say, I can't do this without you. That is when healing begins. Lord, thank you for the ways you have already healed me, for the lies I no longer believe, for the fears that no longer paralyze me, for the relationships you have restored, the identity you have reshaped, the strength you have built in what was once weak. I did not always notice it as it happened, but I can see it now. I can feel how much lighter my soul has become, not because everything is perfect, but because grace has done its quiet work, day by day. God, let this healing continue not just in my emotions, but in the way I live. Let it reach my choices, my habits, my relationships. Let it shape how I speak to myself and how I respond to others. Let it soften the hard places and strengthen the tender ones. Healing is not just about what I leave behind, it is about what I walk into. A life marked by compassion, a heart open to joy, a soul no longer afraid to feel. Father, help me extend this healing to others. Let me become a safe place for hurting hearts. Let my empathy flow from what I have lived through, not as an expert, but as a fellow traveler. Let my story remind others that pain does not have the final word, that brokenness is not the end, that grace is real and available. Let me never use my healing to compare or dismiss the pain of others. Let me use it to comfort, to listen, to love more deeply. Lord, I know healing does not erase the past, but it rewrites its influence. The shame loses its sting. The regret no longer rules. The bitterness fades. What once seemed like the end becomes the beginning of something sacred. This is the miracle of grace. It does not just cover wounds. It transforms them. It does not just numb pain. It gives pain purpose. And I can already feel that happening in me. Slowly, gently, surely. God, there is a quiet confidence growing in my spirit, not because I am healed all the way, but because I trust the one doing the healing. I trust your process. I trust your pace. I trust that you see the full picture and are working all things together, even what I do not yet understand. That trust gives me peace, even when I do not see results. It reminds me that healing is not about milestones, it is about movement. And I am still moving. still growing, still becoming whole. Father, today I step forward with a heart that is still tender, but no longer afraid. I carry the softness of healing as a strength, not a weakness. I embrace the truth that vulnerability is not a flaw, is a doorway to freedom. And even though some parts of me are still in progress, I know that you call me beloved, chosen, enough. Right now, as I am, so I keep walking, not because I am fully healed, but because I am healing. And in that movement, there is beauty. In that honesty, there is power. In that surrender, there is peace. And above all, in every step, there is you faithful, patient, near, always near. Father, as I rest in the slow work of healing, I find myself coming face to face with the next invitation in this journey, an invitation not to forget what hurt me, but to forgive. It is a quiet whisper in my spirit, one I have resisted, one I have avoided, but one that keeps returning with clarity and love. Because healing may soothe the wound, but forgiveness is what fully releases its grip on me. And without it, the H remains lodged like a splinter beneath the surface of grace. Lord, I used to think forgiveness was a transaction, something I had to feel before I could give. I thought it meant excusing what was done or pretending it did not matter. But you are showing me that forgiveness is not about forgetting the pain. It is about refusing to let the pain become who I am. It is about choosing freedom over resentment. And that kind of choice, that kind of surrender, requires courage that can only come from you. God, there are parts of me that still cling to old injuries. Not because I want to hold on to them, but because they became familiar, like protective walls I thought would keep me from being hurt again. But those walls have also kept me from peace. They have made me cautious in love, hesitant in trust, quick to close, slow to open. I no longer want to live behind them. I want to live open. I want to love freely. And I know that begins with forgiveness, not just as an action, but as a posture of my heart. Father, help me to start here, to be honest about who I still hold in my memory with clenched fists instead of open hands, the names I avoid, the moments I replay with tightness in my chest, the conversations I rehearse in silence with words I never got to say. Show me how those pieces still shape my perspective. Show me how they steal my joy in subtle ways. How they keep me tethered to what you are trying to free me from. Lord, forgiveness is not weakness. It is not letting others off the hook. It is placing them in your hands and removing them from the center of mine. It is declaring that my peace will not be defined by another's choices, that my future will not be held hostage by my past, that I am no longer bound to what happened but bound to what you are doing now. And that is a better story, a stronger one, a freer one. God, I know I can do this alone. I can conjure up enough strength to forgive what still hurts. But I do not have to manufacture that strength. It flows from you. You, the God who forgives endlessly, without conditions, without delay, without keeping score. You do not ask me to give what I have not first received. And I have received so much. Your mercy has met me in my worst, again and again. Let that mercy soften the edges of my pain, enough to say, I forgive, even when it still stings. Father, teach me what forgiveness looks like in practice. Sometimes it is words spoken aloud. Sometimes it is boundaries drawn. Sometimes it is simply choosing not to rehearse the bitterness again. Sometimes it is a daily decision to lay the offense back at your feet. Remind me that forgiveness is not always followed by reconciliation, that trust may need to be rebuilt slowly, that wisdom still has a place. But in the midst of all that, forgiveness can still happen. It is not one moment, it is many. It is not a destination, it is a way of walking. Lord, help me forgive those I love, those who hurt me unintentionally but deeply, the friends who misunderstood me, the voices that silenced me, the people who left without explanation, the ones who failed to see my heart. These wounds feel personal, but so does your healing. So does your grace. Let me choose to extend what I have received. Let me choose to unclench the memory, to let go of the echo, to bless rather than blame. God, give me courage to forgive those who will never say sorry, those who walked away with no apology, no closure, those whose actions still ripple in my life in ways they will never see. I release them not because what they did was right, but because I no longer want to carry what they left behind. I want to travel light. I want to make space for joy. I want to live unburdened, and forgiveness is the only key that unlocks that kind of freedom. Father, help me to forgive myself too. Sometimes the hardest face to look in the eye with compassion is my own. For the things I said when I was angry, the decisions I made from fear, the moments I stayed silent when I should have spoken, the opportunities I let pass because I did not believe I was enough. I lay them before you now. I receive the grace you offer, not the kind that glosses over, but the kind that lifts my chin and says, begin again. Lord, forgiveness does not erase the story, but it rewrites its tone. It changes the color of the memory. It removes the poison and leaves the wisdom. Let that be the fruit in my life. Let those who know me see that freedom lives here, that I do not cling to bitterness, that I do not drag the past like a weight behind me, that I have made peace with what was, so I can walk freely into what will be. God, let forgiveness become a part of who I am, not just something I do. Let it flow from me the way compassion does. Let it be my default when I am hurt. Let it be the atmosphere I create around me. I do not want to live guarded, skeptical, or hard. I want to live soft, even when it is risky, because love is always risky, and love is always worth it. Father, I know I will have to return to this place again. Forgiveness is not one chapter, it is woven through the whole story. Some days the pain will resurface. Some days I will want to pick the grudge back up. But when I do, remind me of this moment, of this freedom, of the lightness that comes when I let go. Let it be enough to choose forgiveness once more. So here I am, releasing what once held me. I want to always do it perfectly, but I will keep returning. I will keep choosing mercy over memory. I will keep believing that grace always has the final word, not because the hurt was small, but because your love is greater than offense, greater than betrayal, greater than regret. And that truth, more than anything else, gives me the courage to forgive. Father, after the quiet, trembling act of forgiveness, I now feel a subtle release, a loosening in places I did not know were tight, a freedom I had not realized I was missing. Forgiveness opened the door, but now you gently invite me to walk through it. This is the next step, the sacred unfolding of letting go. And in this letting go, I do not lose what matters. I shed what no longer serves. I leave behind what was only ever meant to be temporary. Lord, letting go is not about forgetting. It is not denial or erasure. It is not pretending that pain did not shape me or that love did not matter. It is choosing not to cling. It is surrendering my grip on what I cannot change. It is trusting that what is meant to remain will stay, and what has served its purpose can be released without resentment. Letting go is not giving up, it is giving over. And I give it to you, the only one strong enough to carry what I was never meant to hold alone. God, I have held tightly to so many things, some of them precious, some of them painful. I have clung to expectations that were never met, to stories I wanted to rewrite, to people who left without answers, to images of who I thought I should be. Letting go means honoring the reality that not everything can stay, and not everything should. And even that truth, though it stings, at first becomes a comfort when filtered through your kindness. Father, sometimes what I need to release is not a person or a moment, it is a weight within myself. The need to be understood by everyone. The urge to always be right. The constant measuring of my worth by productivity, praise, or perception. I release these today. I lay them down. They are exhausting and unsustainable. They keep me chasing and comparing and proving. But you have never asked me to carry them. You have only ever asked me to come, just as I am. Lord, letting go often feels like loss, but in your hands, it becomes gain. When I loosen my grip on control, I gain peace. When I release my fear, I gain clarity. When I surrender old identities, I make room for my truest self to rise. It is not the kind of gain the world celebrates. There are no trophies, no headlines, no applause, but it is real, lasting, and eternal. God, sometimes I fear that letting go means I will be left with nothing, that if I stop holding so tightly, I will lose what little I have. But you remind me that my hands have to be empty to receive, that blessing can rest on closed fists, that love can flow where walls are built. Letting go is not the end of the story, it is the moment it begins to change. Father, show me how to release with grace, not in bitterness, not in anger, not in coldness, but in quiet trust. Let me learn the art of soft goodbyes, the kind that honor what was without chaining me to what can no longer be. Let me see endings as sacred, as necessary parts of the rhythm you have written for my life. Help me believe that if something needs to be gone, you will fill the space it leaves. Not always with what I expect, but always with what I need. Lord, I let go of relationships that no longer bear the fruit of love, peace, or mutual care. I bless them as I release them. I let go of seasons that have come to a close, the places where I stayed too long, the roles I outgrew, the versions of myself I have now outlived. I release regrets that whisper, "What if?" in the quiet hours. I release the fantasy of a past I cannot relive, and the illusion of a future I cannot control. I let go to live fully, freely, faithfully. God, even good things sometimes need to be released. Opportunities that seemed perfect, but were not meant for me. Dreams I once held dear that no longer fit the shape of my heart. Letting go does not mean they were wasted. It means they served their purpose. And that purpose might have simply been to prepare me for what is next. Teach me to trust that nothing surrendered in love is ever truly lost. Father, I let go of timelines too. The ones I created in my mind, the ones others placed upon me. The silent pressure to be somewhere I am not, to achieve something faster, to prove that I am enough through visible progress. I release the rush. I embrace the slow. I let you set the pace, knowing that sacred things are rarely hurried. Lord, help me discern what to release and what to hold. Give me wisdom to know the difference. Not everything that is hard needs to be let go of. Some things are worth holding through discomfort, but others are anchors disguised as comforts. Show me where I am gripping fear instead of faith, control instead of courage, resentment instead of rest. God, when the grief of letting go comes, and I know it will stay close, let me not resist the tears. Let me not silence the ache. Grief is not weakness. It is love in transition. And you are near to the grieving. You do not rush my process. You simply walk with me in it. Father, I trust that whatever I release into your hands is safer there than it ever was in mine. I do not have to understand why something is being removed. I only have to remember who you are: faithful, kind, sovereign. I let go not because I have all the answers, but because I know the one who does. So I breathe deeper now, my shoulders lower, my fists unclench. There is room in my heart again for joy, for presence, for possibility. And this room was made not by adding more, but by letting go. This is how freedom begins, not in dramatic leaps, but in quiet surrender. Lord, thank you for inviting me to live light, to lay down burdens I picked up out of fear, to step away from roles I performed out of insecurity, to release people, plans, and pressures that no longer align with peace. Letting go may be painful, but it is also holy. And on the other side of that release, I find you always there, always waiting, always enough. Father, as I step away from what I have released, I sense a stillness settling in, a calm, not dependent on what is gained or lost, but anchored in something deeper. Letting go has cleared space. But you, Lord, are the one who fills it. And what you pour in is peace, not a fragile calm that shatters with bad news or a perfect day that keeps sorrow at bay, but a peace that holds firm even when nothing around me makes sense. A peace that does not come from answers, but from nearness. God, I have chased peace before. I have tried to earn it through control, through accomplishments, through making sure everyone else was okay. I thought if I could just manage all the variables, then I would finally be free to breathe. But that kind of peace never lasted. It depended too much on things I could not sustain. But your peace, it is different. It guards me. Not because I guard it. It is not something I carry. It is something that carries me. Lord, your word says your peace surpasses understanding. I used to try and understand it anyway. I wanted to know why I could feel calm in the midst of chaos, why I could laugh when grief was still fresh, why I could sleep deeply even when life felt uncertain. But now I do not need to understand it to trust it. Your peace is proof that you are near, even when I can't see how things will unfold. It is the evidence of a heart protected, not by circumstance, but by presence. Father, I ask for this peace not as a fleeting feeling, but as a way of being. Let it dwell in me. Let it soak into my words, my pace, my decisions. Let it shape how I enter rooms, how I sit in conversations, how I respond to challenge. Let it be so rooted in me that even when anxiety knocks, it does not find a home. That even when fear whispers, it meets resistance. That even when noise surrounds me, stillness remains inside. God, show me how to live from peace, not for it. Let me stop chasing what I already have access to. You have placed peace within me, not as a luxury for the quiet days, but as armor for the hard ones. I do not have to wait for everything to be calm outside, to be still inside. I carry stillness because I carry you. Lord, there are so many moments in a day that test this peace. The unexpected email, the misunderstanding, the tension in a relationship, the ache that suddenly rises without warning. But you have taught me that peace is not absence of pressure, it is the presence of steadiness within it. So in those moments, remind me to pause, to breathe, to return. Peace is not always loud. Sometimes it is the silence that steadies the storm. Sometimes it is the choice not to react immediately. Sometimes it is the quiet yes to trust again. Father, I want to be a person of peace, not just a person who experiences it. Let my life become a sanctuary for others, a place where people feel safe to breathe, to speak, to be. Let my presence be calming, not because I have all the answers, but because I know where to place the unknown. Let the peace that guards me also guide me to love without fear, to listen without defense, to serve without striving. God, guard my heart with this peace. Guard it from cynicism, from bitterness, from worry dressed as wisdom. Let it not harden with self-protection, but stay soft with trust. Let me not carry the weight of things I was never meant to solve. Let me remember that peace is not passive, it is fiercely active. It stands at the gate of my heart and says, you cannot stay to every lie, every doubt, every fear that does not belong. Lord, there is a stillness I feel when I stop trying to prove and just begin to rest, not in idleness, but in confidence. That kind of peace cannot be faked. It cannot be produced by productivity. It flows only from deep communion with you. And it is from that place of rest that I want to live, where my spirit is quiet enough to hear you, brave enough to obey, strong enough to wait. Father, peace is not just something I need during difficulty. It is something I need in success too. When things go well, let peace protect me from pride. Let it keep me grounded. Let it remind me that even blessings are not my identity. Let peace be the thread that holds together both the high moments and the hard ones, reminding me that joy is steady, not circumstantial. God, help me protect this peace, not by controlling everything around me, but by staying rooted in everything within me that you have already claimed. Let me return to it again and again when my mind races, when my spirit aches, when my body tenses. Let peace be my signal to pause, to turn inward, to find you already waiting there. Lord, there are people in my life who do not yet know this peace. Some are carrying more than they can bear. Some are drowning in pressure, trying to keep it together. Some are performing instead of living. Let me be a vessel of peace for them, not with advice or quick fixes, but with presence, with stillness, with compassion. Let them feel your peace through the way I love. Father, even now, as I sit with you, I feel the noise of the world quieting, the urgency fading, the lists and deadlines and questions that once felt like giants now shrink in the shadow of your peace. You are not rushed. You are not panicked. And because I am yours, I do not have to be either. So I exhale, I settle in. I choose to walk this day, not pushed by fear, but led by peace, not striving for control, but anchored in trust, not reacting to the chaos, but responding from calm. I walk with the unshakable knowing that you are with me, that nothing surprises you, that peace is not just available, it is alive within me. Let this be how I live now. Let peace not be a fleeting visitor, but a permanent resident. Let it color my thoughts, steady my speech, and soften my heart. Let it guard me from the inside out, reminding me that I do not walk alone, that no matter what comes, your presence is my peace, and your peace is enough. Lord, as peace settles deeper into my heart, I feel you inviting me into something even quieter, faith that stands not only when all is well, but when the path ahead is unseen. It feels like the next breath after stillness, the next layer after letting go. Peace steadies me, but faith moves me forward. And though I can't see where each step leads, I trust that your hand remains on mine, steady and sure. Father, faith is not the absence of questions. It is the decision to keep walking with them. It is what I choose in the silence after my prayer, when answers have not yet come. It is trusting that you are working even when nothing appears to shift. It is believing that the unseen roots of your plan grow quietly beneath the soil of my waiting. I used to think faith was loud, full of declarations and certainty, but now I know it is often a whisper, a steady yes in the dark. God, sometimes I still want to know how things will unfold, when the breakthrough will come, why the waiting feels endless, but faith is teaching me to rest in mystery, not rush to resolution. You are the God who speaks in layers, who hides miracles inside ordinary days. If I demand to see everything now, I miss the sacred work you do in the unseen. So I surrender the need for proof and choose the peace of trust. Lord, strengthen my faith, not by removing my challenges, but by showing me how to walk through them with grace, when I am unsure. Remind me of all the times you have led me before, the doors you opened, the storms you calmed, the people you sent at just the right moment. Faith grows through memory, through gratitude, through seeing that you have always been faithful, even when I was not aware. Father, faith is not only believing you can, but trusting you, even if you do not. It is choosing to love you not for the outcome, but for who you are. It is standing firm when prayers are met with silence, and knowing that silence does not mean absence. It is believing that waiting is not wasted time, but holy ground where my heart learns to depend on you more than on what you can give. God, help me to live faith, not just speak it. Let it show in my calm when others panic, in my hope when others doubt, in my joy when circumstances would suggest despair. Let faith be visible not through grand gestures, but through quiet consistency, through kindness when I could choose bitterness, through patience when I could choose frustration, through love that remains even when it is not returned. Lord, I do not want faith that only survives in the light. I want faith that thrives in the dark, the kind that does not crumble when plans shift or when storms arrive without warning, the kind that says, even here, I trust you, because faith does not erase fear, it repositions it. It reminds fear that it is not the authority anymore. It teaches my heart to say, this too is part of the story, and the author is still good. Father, help me guard my faith like a flame. When doubt tries to blow it out, let gratitude become my shelter. When disappointment pours rain upon it, let your word be the spark that keeps it burning. Let me nurture it daily, not with perfection, but with persistence. Faith grows not from never questioning, but from always returning, always remembering who holds the ending. God, when others around me waver, let me become an anchor, not because I am stronger, but because I have learned to lean on you. Let my life be a living testimony that faith does not need to make sense to be powerful, that trust in you is not blind. It is deeply aware of your character, that believing does not deny reality. It invites divine perspective into it. Lord, I thank you for every moment that stretched my faith, even the ones I resented, the unanswered prayers that built endurance, the delays that taught me patience, the closed doors that redirected me towards something better, the detours that ended up being deliverance in disguise. You knew what I did not, and though I did not always understand, you were always kind. Father, teach me to see faith not as a finish line to reach, but as a daily rhythm. It is in the first breath of the morning when I choose gratitude. It is in the pause before I react. It is in the moment I choose prayer over panic. Faith lives in the small choices, the ordinary yeses that shape the extraordinary journey. God, when I can trace your hand, help me trust your heart. When I feel unworthy of your grace, help me remember that faith is not about my worthiness, but about your constancy. You do not waver even when I do, and that steadiness becomes my security. That consistency becomes my courage. Lord, I want to walk by faith even when it means stepping into the unknown. Let me find beauty in uncertainty. Let me see purpose in waiting. Let me recognize that every no, every delay, every pause has meaning, because in faith, Nothing is wasted. Everything becomes a thread in the tapestry of your goodness. Father, faith does not promise that life will be easy. It promises that I will never face it alone. And that is enough. So as I rise each morning, I will remind myself, I am not walking into chaos unguarded. I am walking with you, guided by unseen grace, covered by divine peace, strengthened by quiet faith. And even if the day brings more questions than answers, I will still choose trust. Even if the night feels long, I will still believe dawn is coming. For faith, at its truest, is not sight restored, it is sight transformed. It is learning to see with the heart what the eyes cannot yet behold. And in that vision, Lord, I rest secure. Father, as I walk deeper in faith, grounded by your peace and surrendered through letting go, I feel something rising that I had not expected. Joy, not the fleeting kind that disappears when circumstances change, but a joy rooted in something greater than emotion, a joy not built on outcomes, but on intimacy with you. This joy has waited patiently beneath layers of sorrow and striving, and now that faith has cleared the way. It returns, unshakable and quiet, yet deeply alive. Lord, joy is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of something stronger. It lives in the same places where pain has been, where doubt whispered, where grief once lingered. But joy does not need perfection to bloom. It only needs room. And now that I have released what no longer serves me, now that I have laid down fear and surrendered my illusions of control, joy finds a place to take root and grow. God, I used to chase happiness, confusing it with joy. I thought if I could fix all the broken pieces, earn enough approval, check every box, then I would feel full. But that pursuit left me tired. It left me hollow. Because happiness built on achievement is fragile. But joy built on communion with you, it is untouchable. It laughs at scarcity. It defies fear. It stands tall in the storm because its source is eternal. Father, joy does not deny pain. It coexists with it. It is the light that flickers even in the valley. It is the strength that holds me upright when sadness presses down. It is the song I still hum when I do not have all the answers. It does not require a reason, it is the reason. Because I know you, because you are near, because even in sorrow, you have given me yourself. Lord, I no longer wait for joy to arrive when everything is right. I choose it now, in this breath, in this moment, with all its imperfections, with all that is still undone. I choose joy not because everything is good, but because you are. And in that knowing, I find more than comfort, I find celebration. A kind that is quiet but resilient. A kind that spills over into the way I live, speak, and see. God, let this joy shape how I move through today. Let it soften my words. Let it energize my steps. Let it overflow in how I love others. Not forced. Not performative. But genuine. Let it be the quiet confidence that undergirds my peace and the steady rhythm that keeps my heart open to hope. Father, joy does not always look like laughter. Sometimes it is stillness. Sometimes it is a deep sigh after a long day. Sometimes it is the sparkle in my eyes when I recognize you in something small, a sunrise, a smile, a sentence that finds me at the perfect time. Joy is not loud unless it needs to be. It does not demand attention, it simply remains. Lord, protect this joy. The world tries to steal it through noise, through comparison, through distraction. It tells me I need more, I need different, I need faster. But joy silences those lies with truth. It reminds me that enough is already here, that I do not need to earn delight. It is my inheritance, not because of what I have done, but because of who I belong to. God, help me release guilt around joy. Sometimes I have felt like I did not deserve it, especially when others are hurting, but you are not a God who rations joy. You are a God who multiplies it. My joy does not diminish the grief of others. It becomes a light in their darkness. Let me never apologize for joy that has come through pain. Let me never dim the light you have rekindled. Father, joy is not frivolous. It is holy. It is defiant in the face of despair. It is sacred resistance to the heaviness that tries to settle in my soul. It reminds me that sorrow may visit, but it does not get to stay. That heartbreak may shape me, but it does not own me. That despair may knock, but joy opens the door with quiet authority and says, "Not today, Lord." Remind me that joy is a fruit, not a reward. It grows as I abide, as I stay connected to you, as I stop striving and start trusting, as I make space in my schedule and in my spirit. Cannot grow in a heart clenched by fear, but it flourishes in one open to grace. So I open myself fully today. Let joy take its rightful place, not as a visitor, but as a resident. God, help me spread this joy. Let it be the reason someone else breathes easier today. Let my presence lift the atmosphere in the room, not because I am pretending everything is fine, but because I know who walks with me. Let my eyes speak peace. Let my voice carry gentleness. Let my joy be contagious, not through noise, but through compassion. Father, when life tries to dim my joy again, and it will bring me back here, back to this truth. Joy is not what I feel, it is what I choose. It is a daily return, a decision to root myself in love instead of fear, in truth instead of performance, in grace instead of pressure. And in that choice, over and over, I become someone who lives differently, not untouched by pain, but unshaken by it. Lord, joy may not change my circumstances, but it changes how I move through them. It lifts my eyes. It lightens my step. It softens my heart. It steadies my mind. It brings light to shadowed corners and warmth to weary places. It is your gift. It is your presence wrapped in laughter, stillness, courage, and peace. God, I walk in joy now, not because life is perfect, but because you are present, not because I have it all figured out, but because I trust you are in the details. This joy cannot be taken, because it was never built on anything temporary. It was born from knowing you, from walking with you, from being loved by you. So I carry it gently, like a candle in the wind, but with the quiet boldness of one who knows the flame will not go out. This joy is mine. It lives here now, and it will rise again tomorrow, as surely as you remain. Father, as joy rises and settles like sunlight after the storm, I feel a new invitation unfolding within me, one I have tiptoed around, one that feels both beautiful and vulnerable. It is the invitation to love. Not cautiously, not conditionally, but fully and freely. Without fear, this kind of love is not rooted in approval or security. It is birthed in trust. It blossoms when joy and peace and faith have prepared the soil. And now, you are gently asking me to live from this love, not just to receive it, but to release it. Lord, I have known love that came with conditions. I have given love in pieces, waiting to see if it would be safe to give more. I have withheld affection out of fear that it would be rejected or misunderstood. I have measured my vulnerability, rationed my warmth, edited my sincerity just to stay protected. But that is not how you love, and I no longer want to live guarded. I want to live brave. God, help me to love not because I am certain of the outcome, but because I am certain of you. Teach me to love as an overflow, not as a negotiation. Let it be a gift, not a transaction. Let it be rooted in who I am in you, not in how I am received. This is the love that transforms, the kind that does not ask for something in return, the kind that flows from healing, not from hunger. Father, love without fear does not mean love without boundaries. It does not mean allowing harm or sacrificing discernment. It means letting go of the need to control the response. It means offering kindness with open hands, giving grace without strings. It means standing firm in compassion, even when it costs me comfort. Lord, I have feared that loving too much would make me weak, that forgiveness would make me knave, that tenderness would make me a target. But you show me that love is not weakness, it is strength. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it is freedom. Tenderness is not fragility, it is courage wrapped in gentleness. To love as you love is not to shrink, but to expand, to take up space in the world without shame, to risk being seen and still choose softness. God, teach me how to love in the moments when it is hardest, when disappointment lingers, when silence replaces intimacy, when understanding feels out of reach. Let me not harden. Let me not retaliate. Let me respond with maturity and mercy. Let my love carry wisdom, not walls. Let it be firm but never cruel, open but never self-erasing. Father, I want to love in the way, speak to offer words that heal instead of harm, that build rather than belittle, that affirm rather than correct unnecessarily. Let my tone reflect your presence. Let my silence carry meaning. Let my every conversation be laced with grace. Lord, help me love in the way I listen, to be present, not just polite, to hear the pain beneath the surface, to hold space for stories I do not understand, to let people feel safe enough to be real. In a world that is quick to react, make me slow to judge. Let me be curious, not critical. Let me be patient, not performative. God, give me the strength to love people who won't always love me back, who may never say thank you, who may leave without warning, who may project their wounds onto me. Let me love them without bitterness, without keeping score, without trying to prove my worth. Because love that needs to be earned is exhausting, but love given freely that is holy, that is transformative. Father, help me to love myself the way you do, not as a reward for good behavior, but as a declaration of value. Let me see my humanity not as a flaw, but as a canvas for grace. Let me speak kindly to the parts of me still growing. Let me celebrate the places I have softened. Let me hold compassion for the areas I have struggled. When I love myself well, I can love others without resentment. Lord, in relationships, let me lead with love, not with fear, not with strategies or defenses or the need to be right. Let me choose connection over control. Let me believe the best without being naive. Let me give second chances without abandoning wisdom. Let love be my compass, not emotion or ego or pride. God, help me love through action. Let it be more than words. Let it show up in small gestures. Quiet sacrifices. Consistent presence. Let it show up in apology, in choosing to stay, in choosing to let go, in showing up again and again, not because I have to, but because it is who I am becoming. Father, your love is never rushed, never harsh, never withdrawn when I falter. Teach me to reflect that same steadiness in how I show up for others. Let me love without needing to fix, without needing to control. Let me love people for who they are, not just for how they make me feel. Let me be a steady presence, not a performance. Lord, when I am tempted to retreat, when the vulnerability of love feels too exposed, remind me that I am safe with you, that even if others mishandle my heart, you hold it secure. I do not need to armor up, I only need to abide. Let that be enough. Let that be my confidence. Let it be the soil where fearless love grows. God, may my love be the echo of your voice. May it stretch across silence, across distance, across wounds too deep for words. Let it plant seeds I may never see bloom. Let it become a refuge for the weary. Let it become a mirror for those who've forgotten their worth. Let it be remembered not for its volume, but for its depth. So I walk forward now, not seeking to be loved perfectly, but to love courageously, not to be everything to everyone, but to be honest and kind wherever I go. This love, born of healing and rooted in trust, will be my legacy. It will be my light, and no fear, no rejection, no circumstance will take it from me, because it was never theirs to give or take. It is mine, it is yours, and it will remain. Father, as I sit with all that has unfolded in these sacred mornings, my heart is tender and full. I came to you unsure, perhaps even wary, and you met me in every whispered word, every silent pause, every H I could not name. You did not ask for performance. You only asked for presence. And here, in this still place of surrender, I have found something more lasting than answers. I have found you, Lord. Through every prayer, I have learned that transformation is not a destination, it is a rhythm, a way of turning again and again toward your voice, even when everything else feels loud. It is the gentle return after wandering, the quiet rising after falling. It is the decision to keep believing when fear tempts me to give up. And it is here, in this final breath of prayer, that I realize there is no true ending, only a beginning made new. God, I thank you for the journey we have walked together, for every moment you waited patiently for me to lay down what I clung to, for every time you reminded me that grace was never in short supply, for the way you healed what I thought was too broken, for the joy you uncovered beneath my sorrow, for the peace that settled slowly but surely, even when storms kept circling. You have taught me to see differently, to measure strength not by how loud I speak, but by how gently I love, to know that surrender is not weakness, but wisdom, that hope does not mean I deny pain, it means I trust that pain does not have the final word. Through every word spoken in these mornings, you have been crafting something deeper in me, something quieter, truer, stronger. Lord, I no longer feel like I am chasing you. I know now you were never far. You were in the stillness I feared. You were in the waiting I resisted. You were in the letting go I thought would break me. You were in every place I thought you had left. And now, as I look ahead, I carry that knowing like a light inside my chest, faint, but unwavering. This prayer has not given me all the answers. It was never meant to, but it has anchored me in truth, in the truth that I am not alone, that I am not unseen, that I am not too much or not enough, that I am held, shaped, and sent not by my striving, but by your love. And that is enough for today. That is enough for tomorrow. That is enough for the unknown. God, I want to say thank you not just with my words, but with the way I live. Let the way I speak reflect what has shifted in me. Let the way I show up for others carry the weight of this peace. Let the way I move through the world point back to this place, this sacred space, where you met me again and again, without condemnation, only kindness. I pray that those who have prayed with me feel the same stirring, that gentle pull toward healing, toward hope, toward hollowness not built on rules, but on relationship. I pray that their mornings are no longer filled with hurry and noise, but with depth, with intention, with sacred pauses that remind them they are loved, even in the in-between. And now, to you listening, thank you. Thank you for staying, for breathing, for returning, even on days when you did not feel strong. Your journey matters. Your presence here matters. And what you carry from this prayer will ripple far beyond what you can see. You may not notice the change overnight, but the soil of your spirit has been watered, and something is growing. Even now, if these prayers have spoken to your soul, I invite you to share your heart in the space below. Let others find strength in your vulnerability. Let your words be a mirror for someone else's quiet H. We are not meant to walk alone, and your story could be the light someone else is waiting for. And if these mornings have met you where you are, I welcome you to remain with us. Subscribe to this channel to continue receiving prayers, reflections, and reminders of the faith that holds us steady. Share this with someone who may need it today. Let us build a space where grace flows freely, where honesty is holy, and where no soul feels forgotten. Keep praying, not because you must, but because it keeps you connected to your source. Keep showing up, not for perfection, but for presence. Keep believing, not because everything makes sense, but because hope is worth holding. And now, as we step away from these words and into the world, may we do so with quiet assurance. May we carry the softness of mercy, the strength of peace, and the clarity of joy. Somewhere in the distance, the light of morning stretches across the horizon. The breeze brushes gently through the trees, and deep within, a stream begins to flow again, clear, calm, and alive.